then we'll start our first game of Recon 5 versus the Rats.
Cool.
Let's see, let me throw in some background music for this champion select here. So first of all, we'll be seeing the Darius and Camille bands, as well as the Aatrox band coming out. Let's see, do you personally, do you have any sort of inclination or just a preference on these two teams? Do you, what do you know? How are you feeling about this series tonight?
Well, as I don't have a whole lot of information, particularly on Recon 5, as I know I think this is the first game they're playing, if I'm not mistaken, since they didn't end up playing in the play-ins. So I'm not too familiar with that. As for Rats, I do remember seeing them through the play-ins, but I'd say I'm more familiar with TL Solarian, considering I did play with him in the play-ins. But as for who's gonna win, I mean, I'd say I just have to go with Recon 5. I'll trust Soul on his preseason power rankings.
Okay, very fair enough. I'm gonna adjust the audio outputs here. I'm still getting my thing set up. As we'll see the 6 bands finish, we'll see Lucian first picked on the side of Recon 5. Well, obviously one of the most prioritized pick in the entire game right now.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely one of the most popular first picks, which I think we'll be seeing for several weeks until he gets nerfed or something gets, like, ADC items get changed.
Yeah, I think it's just the fact that he's actually able to rush so much cooldown reduction so fast, the sustain from Blade of the Ruin King, and the armor shred from Black Cleaver, even just a little bit of bonus health to add on to the survivability of all the very bursty and damage-heavy things in the meta. But probably one of the only AD carries that can keep up with such a strong pick as Lucian in the bot lane would be Kai'Sa on IB lurking. So we'll see both the Kai'Sa and Alistar in the bot lane for the Rats.
And I am interested with those picks because usually you want to avoid picking the Kai'Sa into the Lucian. And pairing that with the Alistar, you've got that melee support. So depending on what R5 picks here, they could have a very vulnerable lane.
Yeah, and in the past couple days in these SFL matches, we have seen the Sejuani very highly prioritized, and as well as it's going to be a very tanky support matchup in the bot line, that being the Braum and Alistar facing off against each other. Lucian Braum is still always going to be one of the most impactful duo bot lanes. Just such a great synergy together, and the usefulness of Braum shield, the usefulness of Braum passive as well. And having both Sejuani and Braum, you're having both of these double on-hit, potentially stun effects for the team. So if they can add on a couple melees to help with the Sejuani passive, that'd be nice. And seeing Solarian on Galio for the mid lane, that'll be another interesting pickup for the Rats. That'll be a good amount of front line for them, a good amount of engage and follow-up for their team fight.
Yeah, and it is interesting seeing, two pretty strong tanks on both sides already. So curious to see how the rest of the band phase goes. See if R5 picks, maybe a tank in the top lane. Same with Rats, because if that's the case, then Kai'Sa's going to win that battle just because of her kit. Yeah,
otherwise we're seeing a lot of before the jungle pick goes over to the Rats, you see they've eliminated both the Camille and the Xin Zhao, so two very aggressive jungle picks. They've knowing that they have the Sejuani already themselves, they don't want to have to potentially risk maybe something a little more damage focused to go on the offensive, to get in the Sejuani's jungle a little bit, perhaps taking the Jervin away as well.
Mm-hmm. It is interesting. Maybe they didn't ban that Trundle, which is always a good counter to the Sejuani. Maybe they're just pretty confident that King Yu-Chan just doesn't know how to play it, or isn't comfortable on it. So,
yeah. Otherwise, we'll still get to see what we got going on in the jungle in the top lane. Right now, we'll actually see an Ivern locked in on the Wrath for King Yu-Chan. That's going to be having that front line of the Galio and the amount of huge base damage that Galio has, but taunting everyone up as well, so Kai'Sa has the opportunity to get as much DPS out as possible. Ivern giving her the shields and peel that she needs, while Alistair is maybe going a bit more in the offensive onto the back line of Recon 5 perhaps, and Corky's actually gonna be locked in for burgers and fries mid lane.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting draft here with pulling out the Ivern and seeing a Corky here. I mean, Rat's definitely playing a very protect the Kai'Sa so she can DPS kind of comp, and R5 just strong picks here. Finishing up with the Ornn. Corky, a little interesting, but they need some kind of other DPS, but I don't know if I necessarily agree with the Corky pick based on what Rats has picked up as well.
I don't think Corky pick is particularly bad at all. I think with the crit items that are in the game right now, I think Trinity Force and Stormrazor could potentially be a pretty nice power spike for Corky. Just kind of roaming around with package, seeing what in these 2v2 skirmishes maybe with mid lane jungler. It's the fact, I guess, their two main damage sources, if not the only two damage sources on Recon 5, are these two marksman type of champions. So each of them with their own different power spikes, with Lucian having his with the Bork and Black Cleaver, and then, like I said, Corky with the Trinity Force and Stormrazor. I'll be interested to see what keystone the Corky actually goes, because in the mid lane I think there's a good amount of viable keystones you can go, whether it be Electrocute. I've seen a good amount of Conqueror Corky. Fleet Footwork is a good choice, so there's a lot of different options. But otherwise, both team comps are looking fairly normal. I'm sure if anyone has recognized the Staker, he's infamous for his Tryndamere top lane. So to see that this team, one of the things that is interesting about the Rats is the fact that they do have these individual players that we've seen them swap up where each of these players are going. Sometimes we see Staker in the bot lane, sometimes we see IB lurking in the mid lane. So they are really flexible with where they can actually put each other depending on what champions they want to go. They're going to swap each other around the map. So having that potentially just no-brain split push pressure on Staker's Tryndamere, it's going to cause at least one, if not two or more people to respond to him if he actually is able to get the ball rolling, get a couple kills, lots of early gold. Galio as well, to be able to respond to a crisis to either of the side lanes is always going to be an invaluable asset. And then obviously the pain of an Ivern, it doesn't matter who he's giving his utility to, it's just going to make them that much more unkillable, especially if he actually manages to get the Athenes, get the redemption and whatnot. But otherwise, if Recon 5, on the other hand, is able to pick up more of an advantage faster, they have some of these members that, if they actually do get some items, they're so very tanky with this front line. If they're actually able to give the utility and front line that this Corky and Lucian need, they can definitely take the game and run away with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, most curious thing that I see is where they want to put their attention in the respective game. I mean, I assume Rats is going to want to get that Tryndamere ahead, because he should be able to just roll over that Ornn if he gets a lead, and vice versa with Recon 5. I'd expect more attention to the bot side.
Yeah, otherwise it still looks like a pretty even game for the most part. There's nothing too wacky here for the most part. Maybe Tryndamere is not the most common pick. I see everything else here. I can see any other team picking for the most part. Maybe Ivern is probably not the most common pick we've seen. But as we saw that Recon 5 took a lot of those, aggressive early game junglers that could potentially, duel to Sejuani a bit more. And knowing that Kang Yu Chan maybe is maybe not as comfortable in jungle as he is the top lane, his champion pool is a little bit limited. Maybe not as diverse as someone that has been playing a lot of jungle. Otherwise, Solarian is a mid laner that is pretty commonly known in the SFL and other leagues with a lot of the teams that he's participated in. He's proven to be a very flexible teammate and able to adapt in a lot of these different team environments. So hopefully he finds his place in the Rats here for today.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely like seeing him on that Galio. I think he's definitely one of his top champs. I mean, obviously the Oriana's in there as well, but I mean, with the comp that I'm seeing, I think either one would have worked. But I like just the way that the draft strategy worked out. I liked the early pick of the Galio.
One of the funny things, or when I had, there was a point in time where I was speaking to Solarian a lot while he was playing for Lane Zero, and we were speaking a lot about a lot of the players having to put in a lot of time solo queuing, and he had voiced a lot of frustration to me a few months ago when Galio was more of the pure tank mid laner, and he would express his frustration to me like, oh, when I pick Galio in solo queue, I just, it's not like this huge crazy damage pick that I can, take the game with and run away with. I have to rely on my team so much more. I hate playing it. It's so frustrating. I want to pick these other things, but I want to practice these other picks for competitive of when I'm playing in these leagues. And since then, Galio has actually become one of the, I would say, cheesiest picks mid lane for both competitive and solo queue, with the more damage-oriented build coming out, is a lot more of a, I'd say, solo carryable build if you are, able to ult into a team fight. Obviously, we've seen Jarvan Galio being one of the most devastating combos. If you get onto a squishy, more than likely, if you get the taunt off, you're going to 100-0 them.
Absolutely. I remember, maybe a month ago, watching some Challenger streams, and just, the one-shot Galio, just absolutely insane. I think they had buffed numbers on an item or a rune, I forget exactly what, but it was just came out of, I don't want to say nowhere, but it just became very popular all of a sudden, just like at some point in the preseason.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things that I think that the keystones such as Aftershock allow these different playstyles to come to the game, and it makes it a little bit more frustrating, where you can have these characters that build just about no resistances besides health, or health CDR than the AP, but they still get so much resistance from relying on the Aftershock. So it allows for some I guess unique playstyle opportunities and picks that would not be viable without these keystones. But I think to a lot of other people, it's not really the most enjoyable thing to have in the game, to be completely honest. But otherwise, we see a pretty typical line of scrimmage for both teams right now. No crazy invades. We see Lucian looking to get a little bit of vision, seeing the Kai'Sa and the Alistar on the bot side. But otherwise, each team is standing off with each other, showing some respect.
Yep, just taking a quick look at these runes here, just see if there's anything out of the ordinary. It looks like the Corki did end up going for that fleet of footwork mentioned earlier. There were several different options there.
I think one of the only concerning keystones, looking across the board, everything else is just about normal, but there may have been a little mistake for GLM Terror taking the Arcane Comet on Alistar. I don't think that's intentional at all, especially with how valuable it is to have Aftershock in the bot lane on these tanky supports, like the Alistar, like the Leona, maybe not something like the Braum that's maybe a bit more used to seeing Guardian instead, but definitely wanting to take something in the Resolve tree at the very least.
Yeah, that is a little interesting thing. You gotta wonder if that was on purpose, or if he just wasn't paying attention to
I'm going to say that's
what he played previously.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine there being I like to give people the benefit of the doubt if they have some sort of strategy they put some thought into, but I can't see myself giving that to him. But Staker showing that he can channel the crits there with level 2 advantage, giving that Ornn a good smack. It's a classic of his to be able to throw that RNG down and just, I don't know how they do it, knowing when you're not going to crit and when you're going to crit. It's almost like they calculate in their head, the mathematical calculations right as they're throwing the auto attack animation out. It's absolutely bewildering.
Yeah, that's just one of the most frustrating things about, playing into Tryndamere early in the lane, especially if you're two melees, because if you try and trade, all it takes is one crit and the lane's over for you if he hits the lucky crit.
And with Ivern showing a little bit of pressure on this top side, I'm wondering if the Ivern pick is meant to... I'm looking at it and I'm wondering if they're going into it with an idea of who they're going to follow around with this Ivern. Because obviously you think of Ivern, you think of some sort of backline carry to be peeled, but maybe he could stick around this top side and he's just going to give everything that he can to Staker on the Tryndamere perhaps, and just to make this... this Trendemir that is already going to be pushing into your laner and being a nuisance and giving him even more strength through that Ivern pick. So we'll see where he decides to hover around for a majority of the game, but otherwise we'll see Sejuani actually venturing into his jungle on the bot side to see what pressure she can apply of her own.
Yeah, and she was able to pick up that blue buff, because if you noticed early in the game, the Ivern did try and invade the Sej to take away the blue buff, but Titan was able to get to him there. So it looks like we have a skirmish coming in here.
Yeah, it's going to be the Flash Wish from Kang Yu-Chan just to get out of a sticky situation. Doesn't want to start anything that he doesn't think he can get away or out of afterwards, so better safe than sorry. Glory's actually going to get a good amount of damage off on the GLM Terror, and Sejuani is going to get rooted up on the back end by the Ivern. But nothing too crazy is going to go on yet. It's looking all even across the board. There's a little bit of CS deficits on some of the lanes. Kang Yu-Chan and Titan are going to be having a scrap back and forth in the jungle here.
And it's a little interesting seeing the Sejuani invade.
Wow, it's going to be a flash over from GLM Terror getting very low with the Ignite down on Titan, but the first blood's actually going to go over to Steve the Crusader on Brawl with Solarian coming on the side a little bit. Burgers and Fries is here as well. The very early jungle scraps, maybe a fight that they thought they could take on their own, is just not turning out in the favor of the Rats. That's actually going to be an advantage over the Recon 5 pretty early on. And Burgers and Fries are perhaps better known as Tooler, laying some damage on Solarian, them having a little bit of slapping fight themselves back and forth.
Thankful thing with that first blood is it did go on the Braum, so no advantages on a carry or anything big out of the jungle.
Wow, that's going to be a near solo kill for Solarian there in the mid lane. I definitely think he could have had a higher kill potential there had he had the Ignite instead of the Teleport. So getting the heal out of Burgers and Fries is looking pretty good for him. He's also got a little bit of a CS lead by just a little bit more than a wave over him, so that's always nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking maybe this Corki pick was going to be something where he could get priority mid and get an advantage. He was seemingly first on the roam in those kind of two skirmishes before the first blood, but Solarian has picked up a pretty good CS lead. About 10 right now, but I figure a wave's about to crash in. But no, it's about 2 full waves there, so he does have about a 10 CS lead at the moment.
We see Ivern picking up the very early mobility boots to see if he can scoot around this map as fast as he can. Maybe try to make some more appearances than Sejuani can and get to some places before she can even get her camps clear. But otherwise, we see early Sheen on the Corki. Maybe giving him a little bit of a punch if he's going for some damage on this Galio here. I'm hoping to see where he's going to be able to take this package. He has the opportunity to potentially take it mid lane, maybe get his Lucian ahead, Lucian Braum. If they can find the Kai'Sa and Alistar perhaps overextending a little bit, they can maybe use it to get some Infernal Dragon pressure if they want to take that off the map early. They've definitely got a lot of options, but they do have to remember wherever they do take this package, despite them potentially having a numbers advantage from wherever they take it, they have to have some respect for that Galio wall and know that he can respond at any time as well.
Absolutely. Ivern is coming here behind the bot lane, though.
Yeah, seeing what type of play they can make, but a wave coming in is going to make it a little difficult. From getting pretty close to him, that's actually going to be Kang Yu-Chan stunned up and Glory getting as much damage off as he can, and Braum's going to get knocked up by Alistar. Sejuani coming in on the side, Kang Yu-Chan being very low, going down into Glory. Ivy Larkin getting stunned up on the Kai'Sa as well, and the Ardent Blaze for the double kill is going to be a nice way to finish that off, and Braum passive being applied, and then a Sejuani ult as well to finish off that triple kill for Glory on this Lucia is 4-0 for the side of Recon 5 is a very good way to start a game, I'd say.
Yeah, this, what was going mostly well for the side of Rats just goes absolutely wrong on running into a counter gank there, and the way that mid lane was going, Solarian was not able to respond. He got poked down by the Corki well. He was pretty close to being so just good awareness for realizing that Galio isn't going to be able to respond.
Yeah, I think the fatal mistake there was it was nice to see Kang Yu-Chan going around almost getting completely behind the Lucian Braum, but the only thing he had not anticipated was at the time walking into lane was right as the Recon's 5's minions had arrived at their bot lane. So if he was actually trying to commit himself there, he's going to not only be tanking the entire minion wave for himself, but his bot lane would potentially have to tank it as well, and that's not even including Titan, who was coming down as well. So it was a good idea, just a little bit poorly executed with a couple things taken out of consideration. So now being 4 kills down is going to make it a little hard to come back from, especially with them taking Infernal Dragon so very early off the board. They're definitely doing the right things, both getting these good early kills and focusing the early objectives as well. We'll have to see what early pressure can be applied. We'll see who's going to be able to cash in on this turret plating gold while they still have the opportunity. We see Burgers and Fries hovering around with that package, seeing if he can maybe make a play in the bot lane.
And I mean, now that Tryndamere is 6 up top, I really think you need to put a focus up there and get a dive off on the Orin, because if you get this Tryndamere ahead, there's no person on side of Recon 5 is going to be able to match him. So I think they really need to prioritize that after how badly their bot lane attention has gone so far.
Yeah, for the most part, though, even though you might find that this Tryndamere is going to be a bit more of a fearful split push pressure later on, you see he has a considerable CS lead up over the Orin, but there's no turret plating plates being taken just yet. But Ivern's going to be up on this top side, as you said, applying this pressure to the Orin, and he's going to be
whiff the ult.
Yep, limping away, just trying to trying to buffer out what he can, but really it's going to be a very slow and painful death without anyone responding for him. So Dwani in the bot side seeing if he can make a counterplay down in the bot lane. And Lucian and Braum are trying to get this wave in as fast as they can. It's going to be knocked up on the Alistar, and he's going to flash away from the Braum. It's still not going to be enough despite dodging the Braum. He was going to go down to the Sejuani ultimate. Kill's going to go over the Titan. But alternatively on the top side, you got this yin and yang. They've got Kang-Yu-Chan Staker taking the turret plating on the top side, but then you've got Sejuani, Lucian, and Braum on the bot side taking their platings of their own. Slarian and Burgers and Fries going back and forth.
That is a dangerous TP off of Orin, though.
Yeah, no, he's trying to make sure they don't lose this first blood tower, but the Staker having ult still is going to be able to pop that Undying Rage and still pop out more damage. Kill going over to Kang-Yu-Chan with Tryndamere falling as well, but I definitely find that to be worth it. You're going to have a lot of these minions that Orin would otherwise get dying. He's not going to have the XP for it, but Recon 5 is still going to find themselves with the first tower blood. You know, Kang-Yu-Chan on Ivern is maybe not the best champion to start knocking down a tower. He's going to maybe find himself to get a few more autos in, but with the minions still in the back there, he's a little frustrating to watch that he's just ever so slightly close to getting that turret, but he's not going to have the benefit of that first tower gold.
Yeah, I mean, if that play went a little bit differently, I think if maybe Orin didn't have TP, or they were able to more cleanly execute that dive afterwards, I think that play works out better for the Rats, because they do end up coming up with a second kill for none, and splitting the tower plating among 2 members as opposed to 3 is a lot more efficient.
Absolutely. So thus far, though, we do see that Recon 5 does have about a 2,000 gold advantage over the Rats. We see Dragon coming out in about 50 seconds as well. Steve the Crusader looking to make a crusade on Kang-Yu-Chan, landing that stun on him, and we're going to have the Cully coming out as well. That's going to be Soul with a Galliol coming in, but it's not going to be enough. His 2 friends are already dead, and now he is left alone to 4 people of Recon 5, and Burgers and Fries picking up a kill of his own, the first one of the game on this Corki, and they're looking to see if they can pick up Rift Herald from that. They're not only taking these kills that are a great advantage to get these gold and the right members of Recon 5, but they're also picking up these neutral objectives very fast. They got the bot lane turret, and they rotated the bot lane members to the top side to be able to not only get this Rift Herald, but maybe even get this top lane in her tower, and then hopefully they can take this Rift Herald and go to the mid lane and just get that mid lane tower, get that dragon, and just constantly just move and get these objectives one after the other. And it's just very beautiful to see. Just some good play with low hesitation.
Yeah, they are playing well around just the information that they're given, with swapping their bot lane up top, knowing that that's their strong side of the map now, especially with the way the gold is situated, and it really helps putting the strong side, not really the strong side, but the side that has more gold on the map for Rats behind.
And we see that Staker's knowing what opportunities he can take, knowing that this Ornn not having the not having anybody with him, he can pretty much just walk at him, knowing that the Ornn's going to do a decent amount of damage to him, but not enough to have to fear being killed by it, unless he does have this Sejuani or someone else coming along to help him. You can kind of run at him, even though the Ornn has the Ninja Tabi, the Glacial Shroud, and now the Warden's Mail. Despite having these early armor items, he's still able to slice him down pretty efficiently with Conqueror. With the Undying Rage, he's going to prove to be a pretty good split push threat, even though we got we have Rift Herald being popped in the mid lane by Recon 5 and having Corki with the package as well. It looks like they're gonna have some control over this objective game for sure.
One of the lucky things for Rats, though, was turret plating did fall just before they take turret, so they didn't get that turret plating gold.
Yeah, the Staker maybe taking off or biting off a little bit more than he can chew. Corki Pack is going to do a great job to separate him. The Ornn is going to knock out 2 members of the Rats, but Solarian is going to, my goodness, there's going to be a huge knockup on the side of Rats, and Ivy Lurkin is going to be able to deal a lot of damage on this Kai'Sa. Steve the Crusader getting very low in Glory as well. It's going to be another kill over on this Kai'Sa. Galliok is going to have a nice shutdown on the Lucian as well, and that is a great trade for the side of Rats. 3 kills for only 1 having to be taken down of their own. Mid lane is also going to be looking to go down, but the great root by Kang Yu Chan on the Ivern, rooting up that Corki, having the crowd control rooted up for the few seconds that they can for the rest of the members to follow up. A clean ace is going to be able to get them a tower, and then maybe even an Ocean Dragon before they reset.
A great team fight by the Rats, turning that around after Tryndamere gets essentially caught out. But I guess them realizing that a bunch of cooldowns had been burned on the side of Recon 5, they thought the chances were good and executed well enough in order to turn that around.
Yeah, it was a lot of that crowd control from the composition of the Rats. You saw a massive Alistar and Galio combo with everyone just being knocked up or taunted up, as well as Ivern rooting up who he can as well. One of the things I did notice, though, was Ivern finishing his jungle item, that being the Runic Echoes. I don't think it's the most cost-efficient way to go. I think it's probably a lot more beneficial to rush these support items instead, like that Redemption, like the Athenes, and then maybe not even finish that jungle item. I don't think a Colored Smite is very necessary on the Ivern. I could be wrong. I'm not very sure on the most optimal jungle setups, but what I am sure about is getting as many outer turrets as possible, which Glory and Steve the Crusader are sure to be on a mission of their own.
And one of the interesting things that I did note is Kai'Sa's build here. She did first buy that pickaxe, and I wondered maybe she was going to first item the Ginsus instead of the Storm Razors, which I thought was a little unique. But, I mean, she did finish that Ginsus, but it looks like a Engage coming out top side. Just going to flash out.
Burgers and Fries already taking a lot of damage from Kang Yu Chan on the side of maybe I was speaking a little too soon about that Runic Echoes purchase, because it seems to have paid off for him there. A lot of damage coming out, and with Burger and Fries being down, that's a huge open opportunity for Rats to be able to walk down this mid lane and maybe get that inner turret. Yeah, with a few more autos going down, and Solarian getting very, very ballsy going against Glory, and Ivy Lurkin going to be flying in on Kai'Sa is not going to find the damage they need, but the pressure is going to be there. Kang Yu Chan being stunned up by Titan on the Sejuani, and it's not going to be enough. She's going to be able to distract him, and Ornell's going to come in as well, knocking up the Staker while he's going to be able to pop this Undying Rage. That Titan getting very low and rooted up by Kang Yu Chan. Yet again, a kill going over to the Staker, killing Titan, but a double kill is going to be going over to Burger and Fries on this Corki, with 3 members of the Rats going on his top side, seeing if they can get this inner tower to respond what they got in the mid lane. But we're going to decide maybe we're going to back off. We already got we got a little bit of advantage. We don't need to push it any further.
Yeah, I was impressed the way the Rats had the 2 lanes pushing at the same time. It was kind of rough for Recon 5 to make a decision, but I think you know, the mid lane push off of the Rats did overstay, but at the same time, good job on Recon 5 to decide we need to engage somewhere, and they did mid and didn't lose anything more from it.
Yeah, it's nice to, like I said, I had thought I was going to see a bit more of the Tryndamere and the Ivern sticking together rather than the Ivern hovering someone around like the Kai'Sa, and we did see that in the mid lane there, and having to bring both Titan and Doldy on Ornn in the mid lane instead of having to take that pressure top to potentially defend that top lane inhibitor. They didn't have to lose it in the end, but it did show that you cannot just send one person to face this Trendmere, let alone if he has the Ivern with him. So you need to send at least 2 people. You need to send members of which can keep him CC'd up for long enough. He doesn't have Mercury Tread, so unless he has the Tenacity in his runes, you can actually chain his crowd control and actually stun him up long enough during his ult to where you can maybe get a kill off. So hopefully Recon 5 can, you know, communicate together, actually be able to chain their stuff together properly, and if they can do so correctly with the right amount of communication and a good enough engage, they can find themselves winning these fights. But otherwise, if they stall things out for too long, if they walk around and they don't have a clear plan of initiation, you're going to have the Staker down here in these side lanes constantly pushing, constantly being a threat to this Ornn, who really can't do much about him besides sit there and helplessly watch, you know, asking for his team maybe if he can get some assistance, if he's knocking on their towers. He doesn't, you know, as long as they don't lose an inhib, it's not going to be too detrimental, but he's just going to be able to spin forward like that, you know, tank any damage he wants, knowing what he can get away with, and knows that with his ultimate up, he doesn't really have to fear any sort of danger. But Corki passive is also going to be up, while Baron is going to be up in about 20 seconds. And just like that, we're going to have to pop it to get away from the Galio a little bit there. It's very scary being 3-1 right now.
Oh, Sejal coming out, finding the Ivern.
Yeah, the Ivern's going to go down very low, but it's just not going to be enough. And instead, Burgers and Fries are going to flash forward and finish off the kill on the Ivern, and Glory's going to be taunted up by the Galio. The Galio's going to be able to pop that stopwatch, but it's just not going to be enough. Glory's going to be able to get the shutdown in the Galio and a double kill going over to Burgers and Fries after a great ultimate from Steely Crusader on Braum. Staker, knowing that his team's a little bit in trouble with 3 of them being down, and so he still needs to apply the pressure that he can down here, but Recon 5 is going to notice that with Staker in the bot lane and Kaizen on the side of Dragon, that they can take this Baron freely with almost no cost or even fear of it being taken away from them.
I mean, this Baron is just a free take on the side of Recon 5 after Ivern unfortunately getting caught out, and Rats being too far separated. You notice Kaiza being up by the Krugs over there, even as the fight was ending, so just too far apart to actually do anything together, and just grants Recon 5 their wish.
Absolutely, and I think it's really sad that the side of Rats really didn't focus too much more on punishing the Corki and Lucian, because you need to remember, you look at the team composition of Recon 5, and if either of those 2 champions are useless, their entire chemistry of their team composition kind of goes down in flames, because even if the Ornn is doing well, even if the Sejuani is doing well or whatever, it's not going to matter. It's just these 2 ranged marksman type of champions that are going to be, bringing you to the win, dealing the DPS that they actually need to get these team fights going and actually bring it to a victory for them. You know, it's the Braum and the Sejuani and the Ornn stunning things up isn't going to matter unless these champions do have their core items, which they do. They have the Trinity Force finished on Corki, they have the Rapid Fire Cannon, so we may not even see the Storm Razor, we just might see an earlier Infinity Edge. Solarian's going to be able to fly in on that Ivern Q, not going to get a taunt off, just going to have to square up. Very scary to go against these Baron minions in the mid lane, but Ornn is in the bot lane, you know, pushing the side lane of his own, you know, seeing if they can get 2 lanes going instead of just 1, in case things go a little south in the next fight, but otherwise they're just going to keep up the slow siege.
Bo wanting to go in, flash engages.
That's going to be a 4-man knock-up on Alistar. It's going to be a fantastic way to start a fight. Kaiser's dealing with DPS, and we're going to be on the backside as well. Undying Rage coming out from the Staker is going to be enough to take down Lucian as well. So many of the members on Rats are so very low, but the important ones are managing to stay alive and continuing to deal with DPS they can. Burgers and Fries being the only one left alive, but not for long. Ivern is going to be able to land that root on him, and his taunt by the Galio is going to be enough to shut him down. Despite Recon 5 having Baron, Rats takes a 5-for-1, and is going to be able to walk down this mid lane and see what they can get after a fantastic, just beautifully executed fight by the Galio, flash taunting. I believe it was 3 of the members originally on the side of Recon 5, following up by the WQ by Alistar, the 4-man knockout. Just, I can't imagine a fight being started off any other way.
Yeah, beautiful. Really, that is their one way to start a fight, especially with, you know, they weren't overly behind, but I mean, they really kind of have to revolve fights around that Galio flash and follow up with Alistar, because otherwise I don't think going to get the impact, the amount of CC you need in order to win a fight if Alistar's the one engaging.
Yeah, no, despite not having Aftershock, GLM Terror still proves that he's not afraid to just, you know, fearlessly get in there, you know, right in the middle of the entire team. You know, being able to land that crowd control just wins him the entire fight. So hopefully, with Baron being down for Recon 5, we'll see how they recuperate, how they try to recover, and the next plans of action that they have to maybe recover from this this little mishap that they've had to recover from a little bit.
Yeah, and it is on Recon 5 to really, you know, dictate this game, because I think Rats can just be like, you know, we're in no hurry, we'll scale, you know, as long as we just don't lose, we'll win. So
yeah, that's I think it's a pretty good philosophy. As long as you don't lose, we'll win. I think I think those are words for the ages. I think that it's definitely got to be one that goes down in the esports history books.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just one of those things that they'll sit back, they'll wait, and it's Recon 5 that needs to, you know, get those advantages. But Tryndamere coming as a flank, and
yeah, maybe waiting isn't their style when they can actually just run in head first, being taunted, or excuse me, Lucian being completely taunted up and having to deal so much with this the very powerful Tryndamere that is just simply knocking down at the Undying Rage, and a triple kill going over to Staker on this Tryndamere. Infinity Edge and PD is showing to be a very large amount of damage. 2 members, or excuse me, 3 dead on the side of Recon 5, with Corki having the package, having to defend this inhib all by himself. So not really too much they can do, and like I said, once you deal with one of these damage dealers, if you get the Lucian or the Corki out of the picture, they really can't commit themselves to too much, with a lot of damage actually coming out from Burger and Fries on this Corki. Maybe they can do something of their own if they get the right engage off. So maybe I spoke too soon with 2 items completed on the Corki, and hopefully that Infinity Edge getting completed sooner rather than later, get that final 60% in true damage. He'll be able to shred just about anyone he wants, and I even think he'll be not even just shredding, but to be able to burst one of the squishier champions like the Kaiser Tryndamere. I think he's going to be a very scary threat of his own here just in a few minutes.
And I mean, I've been really impressed with Rats finding, you know, good fights where that they're able to turn, even with their, you know, in my opinion, not amazing engage, but I mean, they're making it work.
Yeah, and meanwhile, another engage is going to come down here. Ornold's going to go a little bit wide, but Titan's going to see if he can find the Staker, applying the Brawn Pass and stunning him up as well. And Kai's going to be flying in on the side. The ult is going to go down. Staker on the Rampage kit. They're taking the Sejuani down. Warren limping away a little bit he can. Slayer picking up that kill as well. Glory having to dash away, and so many flashes being burned to see if they can pick up more. Mid inhib already being down, so they're going to see maybe if they walk in the this last super minion and try to flex for Baron instead of opting for this Cloud Ring that's coming up. So that's going to be 2 for nothing, and maybe a Baron for the side of Rats, and they're really proving a game that looked like was on the side of Recon 5 may even be Rats' victory after all.
Well, I mean, Rats pulling back for the Baron. Didn't think they could quite end the game, but I mean, hey, you know, they're in my opinion, they're in no rush. They can extend the game, and they'll be fine.
Yep, Rats are going to take the more methodical approach. They're going to be able to finish off that Baron, knowing they can hide it and get a nice secured objective with the Ivern bushes. They're going to root up this Braum who's going on a little bit too crazy of a solo mission, you know, a little bit too brave of a crusade over on the side of Steve, so he's going to go down, and that's going to be a little bit more pressure that Recon's going to have to worry about. But GLM Terror being stunned up by both the Sejuani passive and the ult itself, and Solarian being able to flash forward. Corki and Lucian, the 2 carries of Recon 5, going down to another beautiful flash comp by Solarian. And that's going to be Doldy on side, or excuse me, Orn going to go down as well to this Kai'Sa. 4-1-11, 7-2-10. You know, a lot of these carries are just so very strong. They're going to be able to heal forward just to get the movement speed to rush into the base and end this game to finish off their victory for game 1. And it's a very powerful, or excuse me, a very strong and well-fought victory towards the end there by the Rats. They showed that despite being a few kills down at the beginning, they weren't afraid to find the opportunities they needed. I think both Solarian and GLM Terror had to be the the VIPs of that game, the way they just set up some of the most beautiful team fight engages I have probably ever seen just in spectating little casual games like these. Is probably one of the just again most, whether it was the communication, just the pure reaction of both of the players to pull those off. It was just so very nice to see. So I think it was a very well earned victory by Rats. It'll be nice to see what they can bring into Game 2 and the rest of the series, and maybe we'll see Recon 5 try to recover and learn what they can from that first game and see where they need to fix their mistakes. Maybe there's a little bit of a draft composition they can fix there with only having 2 of the damage threats. Maybe that's not the way they want to go. Obviously, we'll take a look at the damage charts here, and while I try to update this overlay, you can talk a little bit about the damage, the overall picks, and what you thought about that game in general.
Yeah, I mean, looking this, most damage does come out of Tueler actually on the Corki, about 26,500. But following up on the winning team is Solarian with 24,500. So I mean, Solarian really doing a lot of work for his team, both off of the engages and the CC provided, and as well as the damage, clearly doing the most damage. So mid laners clearly performing pretty much the best from a damage perspective on their respective teams. I guess the leads that I glory ended up getting just wasn't enough to just be able to push through Rat's team and just keep pushing them back into their base. But just great on the Rats to re-engage after getting engaged on. That was really good for the early team fights, and once they re-evened up the gold lead and had advantages, they were just able to find great engages off of their limited resources.
Yeah, now we're going to see actually, I know for a fact they had to throw Solarian in on the mid lane just because they didn't have Old Man Hazy. I think there was a little bit of a work schedule conflict that had to pretty much happen last second, but now we've actually got him in, so we'll see if any sort of the players actually end up doing a little bit of role swaps around the map, might not be Staker in the top lane. Now we might actually have I believe it's going to be Ivy lurking and Old Man Hazy in the bot lane with Staker in the mid lane, but Kang Yu Chan's going to stay in the jungle, and I think they're going to throw GLM Terror up in the top lane, so it's going to be a little bit of a maybe different team composition this time around with both players and champions. And otherwise, it looks like it's obviously going to be the same composition roles from Recon 5. And hopefully we can get this game underway.
Gotcha. Oh, I guess I still need an invite.
Oh, yeah. Here, let's see. See if I can get you an invite here once someone frees up some space on either team. There we go. Your in-game name being what exactly? I just don't have you on this account.
SWBF.
Okay, that's probably what I should have assumed. There you go. We'll throw that invite over to you and hopefully get this Game 2 started. So, very good first game by the Rats, and we'll see. Maybe it'll be an easy 2-0 victory for them. Maybe we'll bring it to a Game 3. This will actually be an exciting series. It's like I said, I usually don't like landslides, but you can't. It seemed to be a landslide in the favor of Recon 5 for the first few minutes of that game for sure. But the Rats definitely turned the tides on what seemed like a little bit of a doomed game, knowing once they figured out that they had to take out the Lucian and Corki, and that's really the only damage sets they had to deal with. The game became a lot easier.
Oh yeah, and I mean, you got to think to yourself as Recon 5, it's like we got these early game leads. What was it that we did wrong? That was our comp just that poor into theirs, or did we just execute? But I think they're probably thinking to themselves, I think we're okay. Solarian's out of that game, which I don't think they would have won that game without Solarian. So I think they're pretty happy going into this next game of. I mean, we can, try and either stick to the game plan, or I think we can do something similar. And if nobody steps up again on the Rat side, then it should just be a nice, methodical game win by them.
And nothing new here for the first two bands. What we're going to see here, we're going to see the Aatrox taken off the table as well as the Camille. So they're really not wanting Kanyu Chan to have this Camille jungle, so that's obviously not going to be a surprise. They're going to take Galio off the table as well, despite having picked it for themselves the first time. They showed how very valuable it was. Having that flash taunt off cooldown is just so very devastating of a combo to be followed up with, especially having something like a Comet Alistar to come in with it. But I'd actually be curious to see after that game. I never looked to see how much his Arcane Comet actually did on the Alistar. It would be it's not the greatest thing for morale to lose to something like that, but you know, it's
it would be interesting to see if they pick Alistar and then see what he ends up going next.
Yeah, you know, if you pick up the Alistar for yourself and like, maybe the Comet idea was actually pretty something. Maybe I should do that. You know, we see a few Comet Alistars in the league because of it, but it's good to see both the Draven and the Lucian bands taken off the table for both the Staker and Ivy Lurking, who I'd say both of them can reliably play those two champions, both in the mid lane and for bot lane. So two very aggressive AD carry champions just taken off the table. So we'll see if the Kai'Sa's picked up. We'll see if Lux is actually going to be picked up. We'll see if that goes for either the mid lane on Staker, or maybe it might even be a Lux support for Hazy. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, definitely interesting. I mean, you do see Rats ending up banning the Galio on their side, so don't want to play against that, and Recon 5 banning that Lucian, but Recon 5 does take away the Alistar.
Yeah, they decided, you know, not knowing where that Lux is going to go, if that is in the mid laner support, you know, they don't want to, or you know, maybe even knowing just to be able to punish something like Lux support that has so very low mobility. If they are able to get a good flash Q on the Alistar with some early jungle pressure, that could be some potential easy early kills if Titan is able to come down there, or even burgers and fries depending on what he picks on in the mid lane. But Kanyu Chan's actually going to offer the Kha'Zix in the jungle.
Yeah, I'm a little interested with the Kha'Zix pick here. I mean, looking at, his champ pool doesn't look like it's all that high priority for him, so I think it may have been something you could have saved to second rotation. You know, assuming they haven't picked their top or their support yet, if the Lux ends up going mid, might have been better to pick up one of those matchups, because I don't think you have to worry too much about maybe that getting banned second rotation.
Yeah, we're going to see now both of the bot lanes for both teams going to be complete. We're going to have, or, you know, maybe not. I'm almost fairly certain it's going to be Hazy on Lux support. That's why I say that with almost more strong confidence than hesitation. But if I'm correct, we're going to see this Ezreal Lux in the bot lane, which is one of my favorite bot lane combinations. As an Ezreal player, I think it synergizes very well. It's a lot of poke. It's a lot of burst. I think if you're able to get a Lux binding an ult or Ezreal Q ult to actually just burst down this Vayne, I think that'll be good to catch her out. But having Vayne picked as well, obviously with this most recent patch and the most recent change on her tumble during ult, I think she is one of the most sliver 80 carries now post 6. That I have a problem with cooldown reduction in this game. I think that anytime there is a problem with a champion or they find something to be more weak in the game, they think the way to fix it is just tacking on cooldown reduction to it, and doing that with Vayne and just massively reducing the cooldown on tumble during the ult. I think it's a little too obnoxious of a buff, and I say that as someone that loves 80 carry, loves, you know, mechanical outplay 80 carries like the Vayne. Even I think that's just a little too ridiculous. But we're going to see a Renekton ban out of Recon 5 doing their research on GLM Terror, knowing that's one of his signature and most comfortable top lane champions. The fact that he got through the first pick phase is a little surprising, but they say not the second pick phase. We're not going to let it get that far. So taking out Urgot, if they think he's going to go for a safer pick away from the Renekton, and Rats are going to take away the Xin Zhao and Kayn from Titan. So we'll see.
Yeah. And looking at this, what they could pick, one of the things that I think they could really benefit from mid is possibly a Lysandra, really strong in the meta right now. You have a Vayne and a Graves, so you've got plenty of damage. But I think if you get a mid laner that can, help lock down an Ezreal or, Ezreal especially, or the Kha'Zix, and whatever mid they end up picking, should be very easy on Recon 5 side to just pick whatever fight they want and just take them out of the game and push down after they get their advantage.
Yeah, with the second game coming underway, it's so typical with the Rats with me knowing pretty much all the players themselves, knowing each of them having these niche picks that IB Lurking Ezreal, that's probably not the most common one, but GLM Terror on Malphite is probably his second top lane pick right under his Renekton, so that's, or more than likely we're going to see him probably go a little bit more of an aggressive build with the Comet instead. I know he likes to go a bit more of a damage-oriented build, especially with them picking Vayne. I know they like to pick something like the Malphite, knowing they can go for a one-bang type of play style. Kang Yu-Chan on his Kha'Zix, again, that's another thing that he tries to prioritize when playing solo queue jungle. The Staker not only premiering his Trendmere in the top lane, but now being put in the mid lane, showing the Staker Malzahar coming out. And Old Man Hazy is one that even before Lux support came a little bit more viable and a little bit more common in the bot lane meta, he's always very much preferred it, whether he goes for a more damage-oriented build or even sometimes a W-Max in certain situations. I have the sense that versus Vayne Alistar lane, they're going to go a lot more aggressive. IB Lurking, I think, does have the mechanical skill to be able to play Ezreal. And from what we saw out of Glory last game, he definitely didn't have a poor performance on the Lucian, so I'll definitely be interested to see if he's actually able to take this Vayne pick and with having the front line of the Scion and, as you predicted, the Lissandra coming out in the mid lane, they got a good amount of crowd control, especially the follow-up from the Alistar, and we saw how valuable that was last game for sure. He'll be perhaps slippery enough as long as he gets that QSS to be able to deal with the Lux bindings and the Malzahar ults, if he can make sure he doesn't get chained up by that, especially with the Malphite ult being so very scary. He's almost going to have to primarily keep his flash for that unstoppable force that's going to be coming at him, and if he actually does get crowd controlled up by this Malzahar, by this Lux, by this Malphite, you have, and Ezreal is going to be throwing just about every other projectile skill at you, is more than likely going to have a huge amount of damage, and then a Kha'Zix is going to be flying around trying to jump and finish off whoever he can, so it's going to be it's a very scary almost thought, both team compositions. You can tell there's a good plan coming in with both. Like you said, Aftershock Lissandra is going to be a very valuable pick throughout these team fights. We'll see, if she can actually stay alive and maybe be a lot more of a nuisance than the Vayne if they can be able to keep each other alive. And obviously Graves is very much a big threat of his own, so I think it could go either way. I still think it's about a 50-50 here. I don't think either one is... I don't think there's a huge way to predict this game either way, so this could be a game 3. This could be finished out by the Rats here if they're able to play it smart enough. So it'll be very exciting. I'm hoping that we can see some good early plays. We can see some good early pressure by the Graves and Kha'Zix if they actually end up skirmishing with each other. It'll a lot of different ways this game can go.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like in order for Rats to win this game, I think their bot lane is going to have to step up and put a lot of pressure out. On the other side of Recon 5, I think if either just the mid jungle duo plays well, or if the enemy bot lane plays better than the enemy bot lane, I think it's going to be really hard for Rats to close it out. Because if that Lissandra gets ahead at all, it's going to be really difficult. And if the Lux Ezreal doesn't get the kind of advantage or pressure onto the enemy bot lane, then it could open up some trouble on Alistar roams, or if Vayne just is free farming, then it's going to be really hard to end up winning the game. But at the same time, even if it does go even, as long as Ezreal is able to contribute with ult as well as Lux off of like a Malphite engage or Malzahar ult, and it's just able to burst that Vayne, then I think it'll end up being okay.
I think with both Malzahar and Malphite ult, I think Rats definitely have a easier to execute composition to be able to deal out more damage in fights and maybe take a little bit of a lead. But if Recon 5 can communicate properly, they do have to remember that while the Staker is going to be ulting on this Malzahar, that he is indeed standing still. They can be sure to communicate and actually save things for like the Lissandra ult and the Alistar knockups for Kang Yu-Chan on Kha'Zix, who's looking to jump around and maybe not get the resets in the jump, but just pick off who he can. It's going to be all about communication. It's going to be all about abilities and cooldowns and who you're going to save for what. You can't just randomly throw abilities out willy-nilly, because some of these players are going to be looking for some of these key cooldowns to just be expended and be useless, so then they can actually jump in and take those opportunities of them not having the cooldowns, knowing how far they can go and where they can get enough damage off to get a good pick. And we're actually going to load in the game very fast, and this is going to be Game 2, the Rats versus Recon 5.
Well, hopefully I don't have a spectator bug here.
And no, mine seemed to pop in, so I think we should be good to go.
Oh, okay. I was like, the champions weren't spawning for a while, so I was
yeah,
like...
no, it does happen. It's always a little bit of a monk ass when a game isn't gonna start right away, just because I know this client is always one of the most unreliable. But one of the things I'll mention with the keystones, just as the game starts here, I've seen 2 different things with Vayne coming into the meta. Some, I'd say it's about a 50-50. Some are going for the fleet footwork for the early healing and the mobility that what's it called? That the fleet footwork provides, so he can get just in range and out of range a little bit more easily with that movement speed. But press the attack, especially if you're able to get that green so's early enough, so you're proccing the true damage off on every 2 hits instead of 3, so you get the bonus exposure damage and bonus damage from press the attack earlier. I think that's definitely a viable option as well, but otherwise, just about everything else across the board looks pretty normal.
Yeah, I am glad the Vayne did end up going fleet into the lane, though, versus a Lux. A lot of poke damage is going to be coming out of that and get poked down by the Ezreal. And on the other side of things, I know Terror isn't playing the Alistar, but you can you see the Aftershock there rather than the Summonary.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's good to check your runes once or twice before you get into the game to prevent making any sort of sad mistakes like that. It's so sad because when he had actually died for first blood when he had flash WQ'd on that Alistar in the bot side jungle very early on in that game. Had he had the Aftershock, I think he would have had the resistances to stay just tanky enough to have lived. So it really does make a difference. It's not going to be a make or break in some of the situations, depending on what your champion is and what the optimal rune you should be taking is and what you accidentally took. But sometimes you can as GLM Terror had proven, even if you do take something such as Arcane Comet Alistar, you can still, it's not going to be an absolute loss. You can still play your champion, you can still make yourself relevant.
Absolutely. Do notice here, though, that, Kha'Zix starting the bot side, Graves on the other side, both starting red, but Kha'Zix staying bot side at the moment. Not running straight up to blue on the other hand, while Graves ran down for that scuttle immediately.
The other thing I'll be interested to see as well is with an Ezreal pick, you have to wonder a lot of times. You can go for the I'd say 2 options, but I'd say the 2 main options of being Trinity Force and Iceborne Gauntlet. But I think you could even go even further because there's the Graves that's actually going to be coming around the side here. We'll see if he's able to get a little bit of a cheeky pick on the Ezreal Lux here. We've got Steve the Crusader flashing in on Hazy. He's going to be able to headbutt this Lux all the way back into his team, and Ignite going down is going to be a first blood over to Steve the Crusader on the Old Man Hazy on this Lux support. But as I was saying, I think you have the 2 different options of going Trinity Force and Iceborne. But then you have the option of the second tier. Obviously, second tier is probably going to be the more common pick recently, with the Archangels and Ceres, being so much more valuable with the new W. But I think for people that want to be a bit more relevant and get the core items earlier on, it's better to skip that tier, rush into the early Blade of the Ruin King and even Guardian Angel to get earlier stats. But in my midst of talking about Ezreal builds, we actually saw what's his name? Doldley, I believe his name is, picking up a solo kill on GLM Terror on Malphite, and he's gonna be very low skirmishing with Kang Yu Chan, and meanwhile there's gonna be a knock up on the bot lane as well. Glory's gonna be able to pick up another kill on the Old Man Hazy, and condemning Ivy lurking farther under their tower. I think it'll be a double kill, but it's gonna be for him or Titan. And they're actually gonna let Vayne have that second kill there. It's gonna be 2-0-1 for Glory on Vayne.
Wow, yeah, really good play so far from Recon 5 here. Burning Good Luck I'm Terror's flash in an earlier engage, and then hitting him with a Q shortly after and just flashing after him, knowing he doesn't have the ability to get out. And, also punishing the Lux flash going down off of that gank, and you know, they were pushed up, so Alistar's like, I'll just re-engage, and Graves revisits.
Yeah, and see, this is actually how we need to remember that this is how the first game kind of looked when it started. You know, last game with Rats and Recon, you know, they were down 4 kills, and you're like, oh, you know, they're completely losing momentum. They're dying in all these very early situations. And then they ended up pulling the things off that they did last game to turn it around instead. So we can't jump to conclusions just because there's a few thousand gold or swinging one way or the other. You know, you have to remember that gold bounties are a thing. Despite iGlory, you know, looking on this 201 vein, if he does pick up more kills and accumulate his bounty, all it takes is one good Malphite ult, one good Malzahar ult to pick up whatever high amount of gold bounty that she's going to have on her head. So, you know, the gold can swing back and forth that we've seen in this meta. So it's still anybody's game. We still have to see, you know, who wants to take this Ocean Dragon off the board to help their laners. You know, we have to see who's going to prioritize towards that top side for the Rift Herald, gold plating. There's still a lot of factors to consider before this game can be said to be one team or the others.
I am like still, even with that flash, I am liking the how aggressive Luck's playing, but Malzahar comes out mid lane.
Yeah, Malzahar is going to be just enough to keep Burger and Fries in place, and Kang Yuchan, despite both mid and jungle having to flash forward to pick up that kill, they are going to be able to pick up Lissandra, so they're going to take that one kill, and finally that they're on the board, and Sion's actually going to try to get another kill of his own, landing that old GLM Terror, but being so very it's not going to be enough. Canceling one or too many autos is going to make the difference, but forcing Malphite's back is going to be beneficial for him. He's going to be able to pick up a bit of a CS lead, push the wave under tower. GLM Terror doesn't have teleport, so it's going to be a little hard for him to get back up there, but Kang Yuchan and Titan are having a little bit of a skirmish over the crowd while Steve the Crusader comes in. He's maybe going to get the knock up off in time, but both of them having the same amount of, or same type of boots. It's equally speedy, so Titan's going to pick up the kill on the Kang Yuchan, while Glory's going to look up a kill, or pick up a kill of himself, but Hayes is going to be able to turn that, landing the root that he needed to, and getting the shutdown there for the Ezreal. Getting a little greedy just because he had 2 kills in that vein and Muriel with Cutlass doesn't mean you can take on the world.
Yeah, absolutely. From what I could tell, they didn't have vision of Ezreal, but it's safe to say that he was probably hovering bot side. But Graves reganking bot lane here.
Reganking bot knows how very immobile this Lux is going to be able to pick up another kill, and it's going to be Hazy's 3rd death here on this Lux support. Titan knowing where to apply this pressure and where he's going to be able to pick up these easy kills, especially with Lissandra roaming down as well, and Steve the Crusader being very relevant on this Alistar as well. 103 is actually, you know, being a part of 4 out of these 6 early kills that have been going on in this game. You know, it's having Aftershock as well definitely helps. I think that is probably one of the assisting factors that he's able to be so very tanky in a lot of these skirmishes and apply the crowd control for his teammates to finish off these kills. So otherwise, 6-2 in favor of Recon 5 still, but again, we got a kill over to Kha'Zix on Kang Yuchan. You know, maybe he might be able to pick up some of the early cooldown reduction that he's going to get off Warrior, and then maybe pick up some early armor penetration. We'll see if he's going, if he's going to be going full damage, if he's going to go a little bit more defensive. You know, we'll see what type of build that each of the members of the Rats want to opt for. It's going to be depending on the playstyle that they want to play in this mid to late game with their team fights. A little bit of a wet noodle fight up in the top lane. Both Grasp users are going back and forth here. Still got a little bit of a CS lead on the Sion. Doldley doing very well to hold his own in this tank battle. Glory looking to be very low, and despite Hazy being 0-3 on this Lux, he's still able to land his abilities and apply the pressure that they need to onto this Vayne. Ezreal being a little bit down in CS still, but GLM Terror is going to get a solo kill of his own. A beautiful unstoppable force landing on Doldley. It's going to be just enough to pick up a kill on him, but he's going to have to deal with Titan now flashing away, but red buff slow might just be enough to chase him down, but not quite, and then he's gonna drill off away back into his hole and pick up some kills and reset and see if he can maybe snowball this lead that he's accumulating.
Malzahar ult is back up, so interested to see if see a revisit out of the mid lane onto Burgers and Fries, aka Tooler. Or see if he just decides to roam, but Alistar flash engaging.
Alistar, another beautiful engage, actually getting Hazy into an undesirable position, and the Sion ult is going to come down as well with Lissandra gonna stun up Pushikan as well and Titan on the top side, dealing with Kang Yu-Chan, so they got a numbers advantage in the bot lane for Recon, maybe picking up this early Ocean. They're gonna prioritize it so heavily it deserves 2 Vision Wards instead of just the 1. Can't be too sure. You gotta make sure you know for a fact there is no vision, so you can secure that objective.
Yeah, I could get sniped still by an Ezreal or a Luxalt, but thankfully they do know Kha'Zix' top side.
Yeah, it's good to see when Recon 5 does pick up a kill that they don't hesitate to find what else they can take, and once they're given an inch, they can take a mile. So it is a little bit worrying to see, though, even though it's only 10 minutes into the game, the Rat spotlight is already accumulating about 6 deaths. So it's going to be a lot of gold over to the Vayne and over to the Graves. It's applying a lot of pressure here, but he's applying pressure to this top side. A lot of damage coming out, and that red buff ticking down on the GL on Terror is just not going to be enough for him to stay alive, and Titan is going to be on a killing spree, being 302 on this Graves, and whether it's bot side or top side, he's proven that he's a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, now that his bot lane has that lead, looks like he's like, I'll go top and transition that, just go everywhere around the map, because he seems like his own bot lane is able to just punish him well enough.
That's actually going to be a ult coming on. The Malzahar is going to cancel a little bit earlier. Berg's Surprise is going to have a very nice flash Ruben, and another play is going to go down while Steve the Crusader yet again is going to engage on this Lux, but not too much is going to come out of it. Ruben's actually going to land on him. He's going to have to pop his ult to be able to get away. It's a little bit on 2 different pages. Him on the Vayne. Vayne just wanting to sit there and auto the minions a little bit, get some farm, and finish up some of his core items, while Steve is wanting blood from this bot lane of Rats. Otherwise, we're seeing the Wet Noodle fight to continue up in the bot lane. We got both Scion and Malphite looking to get that early Sunfire cape. We got a double Longsword, perhaps to get that Titanic Hydra on the side of Dodoly. Doldo is unstoppable, and both the Malphite ult is going to collide with the Scion ult, and when an unstoppable force meets a train, I guess that's going to be the result. Is a dead rock, a dead mountain. That's going to be 1-3 on Geel on Terror. 3-1 on the Scion. He's going to perhaps be able to finish that Sunfire Cave early, but Ezreal ult is going to go a little wide despite the Lux Binding landing, and iGlory is actually going to maybe show a little bit of a BM, turning back and facing and saying, is that all you've got? Steve the Crusader coming to the side and knocking up. Ezreal is going to go very, very low, and the Ignite's going to go down as well. iGlory is going to be ulting in with Lissandra getting a double kill, ulting up that Lissandra. That is, or excuse me, ulting up the Lux. That is a double kill there. It's going to be 1-3 on Ivy Lurking's Ezreal at the 0-5, and Old Man Hazy is definitely not the numbers you want to see coming out of the spot lane. 13-3 in the favor of Recon 5.
Yeah, as evidence there, BM works.
Yeah, no,
baited him right in.
It's the very slight. It's almost like a body language in real life. We're able to have some sort of body language with our characters in League of Legends. Just turning back and looking. If I see that in the game, I notice that stuff. That never goes unnoticed to me as a player, and I think that's a little bit of communication. That little bit of BM, I think, went a long way there, and actually, who knows? Maybe got the mind games to allow him to get that opportunity. But otherwise, we got the Ezreal finishing up the Iceborne Gauntlet as opposed to the Trinity Force, so going for a little bit of a tankier build. I think it's nice to have the Iceborne Gauntlet versus something like a Graves who's going to be walking at you, and it's nice to get to slow him so you can kite him out a little bit. But I still think in a meta that is all about damage and a lot of bursty, super fast exchanges, and having things like the Malzahar and the Lux that are going to get these suppressions and bindings down, I think Trinity Force is a little bit more valuable, especially if you go more of a hybrid build to get the Trinity Force and the second tier item, so you get that Seraphs and the Archangels. And then to be able to pick up a Hextide Gunblade later usually leaves you with about 300 AD and 300 AP. I think you can find yourself doing a significant amount more damage, especially when you have to deal with the Tank Shred, of dealing with the Scion, of dealing with the Lissandra with Aftershock and the Alistar. I think it's nice to have the survivability of the armor and the resistances from the Iceborne, and to be able to have the slow to help you kite. But you're sacrificing a lot of damage, and especially when you're having to deal with the hyper carry of a Vayne who already has that Borg finish. you know, is either going to go for that Guinzos, the early PD, might end up getting a, you know, the Zeal item into Infinity Edge, since you're doing even more true damage. You can go a lot of different builds. But otherwise, we've got the Recon 5 being able to take this Rift Herald and picking it up for Titan. King Yuchan's going to show up a little late to the party, and Titan's not going to be able to see him with the Kha'Zix, you know, skulking around like a little bug he is. Gilon Fair going to land a nice knockup with the Unstoppable Force, but another Unstoppable Force is a train heading at the speed of light. Steven Crusader, you know, setting up the minions the best game for Glory, and the Staker to be looking to tank up some minions and perhaps maybe get a solo kill onto Burgers and Fries, landing a good suppression right as Lissandra throws out the E. I think it was very well timed by the Staker. It's just going to be not enough damage. King Yuchan's going to see if he can come in and finish it off, but Lissandra having ult is going to be able to delay so much time, having a stopwatch as well. Burgers and Fries going to pick up a kill on the Staker. Very well done. A double kill actually for the side of Burger and Fries. And alternatively, a double kill is going to go over to iGlory on this Vayne in the bot lane as well, and it is an easy 4 kills picked off for Recon 5. 17-4 is almost a very dominating victory, I can almost say for certain at this point, even though, you know, a game is never over until it's over, but having a nearly 7k gold lead over the opposing team, I think that's a pretty solidified win as long as they can keep it up, keep the neutral objectives up as the Graves is getting right now. And the fact that they have the Rift Herald, they're picking up this Infernal Dragon, I think they're definitely running away with this win, and they're definitely wanting, they're not happy about that first game. They say, we're taking this to a game 3, we're not going to let you have this so easily.
Yeah, they're unleashing the Hulk this game. They're very angry and they want it back, and, you know, Tuller just going full man mode and turning around that gank for a double kill, like, impressive right there.
Yeah, no, otherwise you gotta, as long as, I believe this Ezreal is able to pick up his mana immune, if he can actually get that 750 stack, the Mirror Man, I think will do significantly more damage. Being stuck on the Iceborne tier 2 boots and tier, you know, he's got so very few offensive stats, so even if they do have the most favorable outcome of the fight and, you know, good positioning, he's just not going to be able to deal a lot of damage. Sion is actually going to see if he can find an ult on the GLM Terror, but it's just going to go a little wide here. GLM Terror walking out while King Yuchan gets the blue. Otherwise, you got no objectives to take. They think, or I think Recon 5 is going to pause here to see if they can take this outer mid lane turret. Sandra looking to threaten that dive onto the Staker, and Ivy lurking, looking to throw some Qs over the wall, but it's just not going to be enough. Sion taking down this mid tower, and a good luxury is actually going to be enough to bait them into a fight. Lissandra is going to pop for herself, and it's going to be a good distraction. King Yuchan being very low while the Rift Herald hits the turret. Titan being very low himself, and Ivy lurking trying to hit as many Qs as he can. Eating forward is going to be very brave. iGlory and Steven Crusader on the side. A good Malphite coming to the side. Titan going down to Old Man Haze, dolefully tanking out what he can, and Glory going to go very far forward, killing King Yuchan on the Kha'Zix, Staker, and the 3-man knockup for Sion. And Lissandra going in as well. Full health Vayne is going to be able to deal the damage you can. GLM Terror going down to Vayne as well. A good Zonia's by Burgers and Fries is going to be dealing so much damage, so much crowd control, and buying so much time for Recon 5. They're playing these fights absolutely beautifully as they go to look for this mid inhib.
Yeah, I mean, Rats, the way that started out didn't look great, but it seemed like they were turning it for a sec, but as soon as Vayne joined the fight, it just turned on its head.
Yeah, no, at the very least, Ezreal has picked up a decent shutdown in the Sion there, and they're not going to be able to finish that inhib, so they're hanging on for dear life here, being 10k gold down, but it's not over until the fat lady sings, and despite the carries of the Rats being very, very starved for gold, it's still anybody's game, but Recon 5 playing it so very beautifully, and I think for the most part deserving this win, just the way this the Lissandra, the Sion, and the Alistar are playing these fights, and Glory is being untouched, being able to tumble around and just boom, 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 you know, true damage, getting the Guinzos finish, so now instead of having to go 1, 2, 3 for that true damage, just 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and just, you're going to be able to shred that Malphite despite, you know, how many, or the resistances he has. You're going to be able to nearly two-shot the Ezreal Vayne, and the only, you know, scary force that Vayne's going to have to worry about is getting suppressed by that Malzahar and then maybe assassinated by the Kha'Zix, but otherwise, him getting red buff and now having, again, Bork and Guinzos is going to be, you know, just such a huge power spike as opposed to Ezreal just now finishing up his mana immune.
Yeah, I think as long as our Recon 5 just, you know, plays the safe game, doesn't do anything overly risky, that, you know, they can just play it slow and methodical at this point. They just got to worry about getting engaged on and worrying about Rats making a play.
Despite Hazy dying a good amount this game, he is still landing his abilities. He has, again, we did see that original fight start off with Lissandra getting picked off by the Lux binding, but Kang Yu Chan, you know, a little bit of miscommunication, maybe just the Lux wanting to ult and get a little bit of damage off, but the Staker actually having to deal with a little bit of a fed Dolly, and the Scion is actually going to get 1v1 despite being on the Malzahar, is going to get completely decimated by the Graf Scion. 0-4 on Staker, and this Malzahar mid lane is definitely a little bit of embarrassing to see. Old man Hazy.
And while that was happening, you saw Lux was able to catch out the Vayne and pick up her shutdown, and Graves is now in trouble.
Yeah, Graves being very low, and Kha'Zix is going to be able to stealth and pick up that damage on the Titan. Steve the Crusader is going to find himself in a little bit of a sticky situation while Lissandra is able to get away. A shutdown going over to Ivy lurking on Ezreal, going to be 3 and 4, picking up some gold now that he is so very desperately needing. Now that he has this man immune, he's maybe going to be able to look to be able to get that QSS potentially if he wants to avoid Lissandra. If he's going to go for that Blade of the Rune King, he has a lot of different options. I'd say the Blade of the Rune King with how much health the Scion has is going to be probably the most cost-efficient build, and getting them to sustain as well is going to be nice. The silence going down on Lissandra is going to be a little bit of a nuisance while Scion tries to get in here. Kang Yu Chan being very low and not going to be able to participate in the fight, and Vayne getting completely stunned up, but it's just not going to be enough. An ult coming out, a huge damage coming out at the Ezreal ult as well, but it's going to be another kill over to Igor, killing it. Old man Hazy, and shutdown is actually going to go over to Staker, being able to, with the Malefic Visions, finishing off that Lissandra. Kang Yu Chan on the side being very low, and the slow going on to Scion from this Ezreal is going to be very much a nuisance as he is able to limp away, but a knockout is actually going to be enough to get Ivy lurking, you know, trying to play it off a bit more. He can shoot, get a little bit greedy, and that might be a Baron over to the side of Recon 5.
Man, I thought Rats did such a good job of picking out a bunch of those carries and getting those shutdowns, but you know, they just overreached a little bit or misexecuted on jumping on the Vayne there while he was Mouse ulted, and it just gives another 3 or 4 kills back.
No, I'd like to mention though, as you did point out, or with Hazy being able to, despite his score, is able to pick off the Lux, or excuse me, the Vayne, like you said. So you know, KDA isn't going to matter if he's able to still land these game-changing skills. If he can actually land the bindings on the right person, get these bursty combos off on the Vayne and off on the Graves. You know, if they are able to get these 2 main damage dealers off the board. You know, Lissandra's still a very heavy damage dealer and is a threat to be feared herself, but it's not as detrimental as the Graves or Vayne going down. So maybe if they can play these fights correctly, you know, they can find the right targets, and they can still maybe turn the tides of this game. You know, they're still hanging on for dear life. Ezreal is going to come out as well, and they've got it's a little bit close, but Titan's going to be able to carefully smite that Infernal away from them, knowing how valuable it is to pick up that second one for themselves, and maybe walking mid lane to see if they can secure this inhib.
Yeah, I think at this point they can just group and probably push it down, you know, just so they don't get caught out and have a bunch of their members die, because clearly Rats does a good job of finding those marks.
Speaking of finding those marks, a flash 4-man Lissandra root is actually going to be fantastic. Malphite coming on the side, but Igor is just not going to be enough damage. Kang Yu Chan's going to be knocked up by Steve the Crusader. A great amount of heal is going to come out for the carries of Recon 5, but they're all so very low, going to have to come out of this. They're going to see if they can get away, but GL Ampere is coming very fast, and Malefic Vision is going to be able to finish off that Vayne. Lissandra is going to be able, or excuse me, Lissandra is going to be able to zone. He's on the side, and another shutdown is going to go over to the Staker, trying to find another one, but Steve is going to take him down, saying, "You greedy bastard, get the hell over here." Ivy lurking and Lux are going to be, or excuse me, not Lux. Ivy lurking and Kang Yu Chan are the only ones left to defend against this Baroned up Recon 5.
Yeah, Recon 5 engages that with the Liss Flash W, but gets instantly ulted, and it didn't look like her team was, you know, in position to follow up instantly afterwards. And, you know, Rats ended up turning that, but then Rats just dives a little bit too deep. And
speaking of diving too deep, they are just disrespecting Titan and Steve the Crusader. The fact that they're, you know, I think that was a total of 3 members there disrespecting this Alistar, first being Staker on the Malzahar, walking forward to see if he can just, you know, casually cast abilities on the members of Recon 5, but Steve says, "Get over here." You're going to, you know, knocks him up, allows the other people to do damage, and then that same repeat we see there with Kang Yu Chan and Ivy lurking, walking right up to a very fed Graves with an Alistar standing right beside him. It's just so very disrespectful, and we're going to see them instantly punished for it, and Inhib's going to go down because of it. And, another 2 kills, they're just accumulating this lead for the Graves. He's almost got his Zeal item finished. And Scion is actually going to look for a kill on the Old Man Hazy. Nearly 80% of his health gone is going to be so much damage to this Titanic Hydra Scion coming out. It's not going to be enough. The Lux shield is going to be just enough to keep her alive. But still, even just this 737, Doldily Scion is going to, you got the Vayne and Lysandra and the Graves wreaking havoc of themselves, but your full tank top laner is soloing your supports. It's very scary.
Yep, and that's where maybe some of the complaints in the game from everyone is going on is there's too much damage in the game.
Yeah, no, for Riot's solution to we have seen a little bit of a lack of tanks in the most recent metas, and for some reason their resolution to that is to add more damage to Sunfire Cave, to, add more damage to Sejuani, and, they're like, oh, well, tanks, aren't good, let's add damage to them, and that's not really the problem. It goes so much deeper than that. But regardless, we're seeing that Titanic Hydra Scion is able to, deal with this so much damage, even just as a live form, and if he is able to go down or somehow find them, or if the rats are able to find the damage to shred him and actually kill him, he still has, the undead form that's still going to apply those Titanic Hydra hits. So even if you kill him, is he really dead? That's the question. Hex Flash is going to be cleverly dodging the Lux Q, whether that was intentional or not. It's pretty flashy for Steve. And we're going to be seeing them try to siege his top side. We got the ZZ Raw portal and a lot of crowd control. The slows are going to be allowing that Lux binding to hit. They're going to see if they can find Doldily limping away. Feel on Paris sticking on him like glue, but it's going to be just enough damage. They're not wanting to have any sort of engage off this, and that's going to be a shutdown for Hazy on this Lux support while Doldily goes down and Lysandra's on this bot side while mid is still going to have super minions crashing into it. We'll see if the Staker can hold her off here, or if she's going to be able to very carefully get this in hit. She's actually taking out the Voidlings very well. Suppression's going to go down. Voidlings are going to come out again, and so is an E. Tangy Chain coming on the side, but very low on mana. Very and not going to have too much mana to do abilities, and Roots is going to, Lysandra Root is going to be enough to be able to proc that Aftershock. Another Zonius to be able to kill even more time. And despite that, a lot of cooldown reduction from this Malzahar is going to leave Staker with a kill on a Burgers and Fries.
Man, the way this game is going, you would think that, this game maybe should be over by now with the lead that Recon 5 has, but just Rats are just doing a great job of finding these picks, getting these kills, getting gold back on members, and their team, I've been impressed with their team fighting.
Yeah, if they can actually, they're still down a significant amount of gold, and, they're down 3 dragons, they're down 7 towers, but still they're, I honestly believe any other team would have, morally they just would have given up. They would have let the game, just already be closed out, but these guys are still holding on by a thread. Even if it is just a thread, they are holding on for dear life just by the skin of their teeth, showing they are not going to let, just a win, slide by. You're going to have to earn it yourselves. So it's really sad to see that both Scion and Lysandra kind of turn their brains off a little bit there. We let the Scion go a little bit too far forward. He was able to get slowed by the Ezreal Qs, the Zeiss Spawn. It allows Lux to hit her bindings, and that's Malphite is able to stick on him with the slows. All these different things where he's just having to limp away, and the rest of the team's like, oh, we don't know how to help you. You're just gonna die. And they think with Lysandra on the opposite side of the map applying her own pressure, they can't really do that unless they think she can actually survive against the Staker on Malzahar. But Doldily looking to have a fight of his own, but not having enough magic resistance versus Malzahar is going to prove to be another one of a greedy fight, with Malzahar having Leanders and Ludens doing so very much damage. Recon 5 seeing if they can get Baron while they are able to secure it. All this tomfoolery is happening on the bottom side of the map, and meanwhile they're looking to see if they can get a little bit of a fight going. Hazy the Kid is actually going to be able to land a great flash binding on a Titan on this Graves, and Titan's going to be able to flash over the wall. He's so very slippery, but oh my god, a huge amount of damage coming out of the Graves, but Kangi Chan is going to say, I'm going to do even more damage than you, and these bursty jungle champions are just going to be going back and forth, and even though they're picking up that kill on the Recon 5, they're going to be able to get that mid lane inhib with the bot lane inhib being exposed as well, but instead they're going to take it a little bit safer, try to get this Cloud Dragon instead. Malphite mid lane is going to maybe try to loop around and see if they can get a fight going, knowing that they have Titan dead, a little bit of a numbers advantage, of 5v4 if they can get a good fight going.
Well, with Titan dead, it does look like Rats may be able to pick up this Cloud Drake as a consolation prize, but nevertheless, it is something maybe denies, a fifth Drake from Recon 5 if this game extends out to an Elder Drake.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, even though it was 11k gold down from Rats, now we're seeing about 10k, and now they're getting another tower. So just ever so slightly, they're inching their way towards getting this gold back and coming back into the game. We see the QSS being picked up on the Ezreal, so not to get insta-gibbed by the Lissandra if he or she chooses to dive onto him and try to completely insta-gib him. He's able to get a little bit away from that. He's got his second tier built, and he'll have to finish that Archangels if he wants to get that ability power. Otherwise, you've got, like I said, we got the Leandries and Rylai's being an absolutely devastating combo on the Malzahar, being able to constantly apply that slow, constantly be able to apply that percentage health damage. It's going to be very valuable to have, especially against this very healthy Scion. And then even Kang Yu Chan, who's got the Dustblade finish, is a great amount of damage for him to synergize with his ult while he is constantly going stealth. We got the Black Cleaver for him to have that extra health, extra CDR. So while these members of Rats are picking up their items, and even the Night's Vow and the Malphite is going to help some of his carries to help with a little bit of survivability, and him having survivability of his own if they're able to deal the damage and give him the heal. But Staker's actually going to come on this top side, see if he can stop this Scion who's walking down this easy rot portal, dealing so much damage to these structures, while the other 4 members of Recon 5 are looking to see if they can get this bot lane exposed inhibitor.
It is interesting how slow Recon 5 is still playing this in bot side, though, but Sion's actually ulting in
Sion all the way from top side, and Lissandra's going to be able to root up other people as well, and Steve the Crusader taking down Kang Yu Chen and dealing a great amount of damage with him being able to knock up the members of the Rats and actually setting up a beautiful kill, especially for iGlory. Is going to pick up another kill onto the Staker, a shutdown for him, in fact. Lissandra's going to see if he can find the last kill on the Hazy, but iGlory is going to be able to flash very nicely to the side to avoid that binding. A 10-3, a good finish on iGlory on this van. Recon 5 is actually going to take this to a game 3 versus the Rats.
Yeah, I mean, right as I'm saying they're playing this slow, they pull the trigger and Sion joins them, and they just absolutely obliterate that fight. I mean, well played by Recon 5. I mean, little sloppy in areas, but I mean, overall, just pretty dominating performance.
Yeah, no, it was a very cheeky ultimate from the Scion, going from the top side, easily looping all the way around to that bottom side to get that last fight going, to be able to get that bot lane inhibitor. Maybe if they didn't even turn that into an entire team fight, they were just able to get the auto attacks off onto the second inhib, and even if they had to maybe even back away and just maybe let the super minions flood in, I think they were bound to win that game either way. Once they were actually in their base, they had that first inhib down. Leaves it very easy for them to close out that game, but still very well done. It was very well fought, defense by the Rats. That was for sure. The way that they were able to hold on despite being down so much gold, they were able to pick off, with the Lux binding and the Malzahar ult and the Malphite ult, they were able to find a lot of these opportunities despite being so very far behind. They weren't afraid to look for these different picks, look for these different plays, and it shows that it doesn't matter how far behind they are, they're still all, consciously aware of the game, able to prove their individual skill, where they can, find these opportunities, and it kind of shows, why they are this team, and, despite being a little bit more infamous for their trolly personalities and whatnot, you can still tell these players are still good of their own. But Recon 5 showing a lot more dominating of a performance. The game 1 isn't really what I expected out of them, but that game 2 is a lot more of that very, very aggressive and successful, execution of that team composition. Especially, we saw Geolon Terror and Solarian picking up a lot of the, for game 1, it was them setting up a lot of those plays that made a lot of the crazy things happen. But I think a lot of it that game was burgers and fries on that Lissandra. And I'd even go as far to say Doldali, or I really wish I could pronounce his name. I wish he would... I should ask him for him to correct me, but for him to set up a lot of the kills that he did on Sion as well, to have this front line of Lissandra and Sion was very fantastic, and iGlory playing very well in Vayne, showing how devastatingly strong the new Vayne buff is. So we see a lot of great things all around. I think it's going to make for just as much more of an exciting game 3 to see who can finish this out, and I really do think this can be anybody's series. I think it could be Recon 5, it could be Rats.
And I'm just loving the way this series is playing out, because it seems like they have very differing styles, with Rats playing a very, don't necessarily need to get these giant early game leads. They're relying on their team fighting, while Recon 5 on the other hand are going very aggressive and getting these leads, and then Rat's just pushing back with what they're strong at, and it's very interesting seeing those varying styles, and they're both very good at what they're doing. So you're seeing a lot of push and pull.
Yeah, absolutely. So with an exciting game three going to be on our hands, I think we're going to see a little bit of differences in the draft a little bit. I think we're going to see some picks taken away. I think we're going to see some picks taken away, maybe banned. I don't think we're going to let what's called. I don't think there's going to be some power picks that were left open that game. I think Lysandra is very silly to let through. So it looks like we're going to have a little bit of an intermission. We're going to have a little bit of a bathroom break. I think I'm going to deafen real quick to do so myself. So we're gonna do this. Okay, so yeah, we'll have a little bit of an intermission, and then hopefully in about 5 minutes' time, we'll get Game 3 of the Rats and Recon 5 started, and we'll see who can actually come out on top of this series. So we'll be right back. All right, we're just about ready to get back to this game 3 of a great series between the Rats and Recon 5. We'll see how this series is able to finish up. How are you? How are you enjoying yourself so far?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Say that again.
Oh no, I was just asking what you thought of the series so far, because obviously I've been enjoying myself. I thought this has been a pretty great back and forth.
Absolutely, I am really enjoying myself. Like I said previously, I'm really enjoying the differences these teams have with the early game, seemingly to come out from Recon 5, and the team fighting and just map play to get catches and just try and pull themselves back in the game, inch their way back. So just really like how those are contrasting with one another.
Yeah, I'd have to absolutely agree. But otherwise, getting into these bans, I see that they're for the side of Recon 5, they're still not going to let IB Lurking have this Draven, so they're still taking that off their table. They're also going to be taking the Galio off the table for all hands.
One ban switch up is the Scion though for Dodolyi.
Yeah, I think that's it's probably wise. I think it's one of the nicer tanks to have in the top lane, being able to scale so very well just with his kit. And we're going to see the Alistar picked up right away for Steve the Crusader. He showed he was very comfortable on it last game. He was able to just, the amount of plays that you're just able to make with a champion like that is just fantastic to pick up early, and it's just so hard to answer as well. It's just one of those things that's a little bit hard to counter pick, so it's a very safe first pick for the side of Recon 5.
And it's nice because it's got 100% win rate so far in the series, so it's
no, absolutely.
That's how these series metas evolve. It's like, man, this Alistar has been doing well on both sides. So
yeah, if it's not broken, don't fix it. If something's working, it's there must be a rhyme or reason to it. So there's nothing wrong with picking what works.
Exactly. You see they pick up that Vayne, which is still interesting. I mean, they did it last time with knowing the Ezreal Lux, so pretty confident based off of how it went last game. I think they can replicate that success, so why not?
Yeah, I think even though we talk about a lot of the Lucian Braum, the Lucian Thresh, and some similar bot lanes like that being some of the power picks, I think with this the most recent Vayne buffs, I think it does bring her up to some of the most top tier of AD carry picks. And I think because of Aftershock and because of just the resolve tree in general and the ability for tank supports to be a bit more relevant than some of the Enchanter supports in this current meta, I think Vayne Alistar is probably one of the strongest bot lane duos right now. And I think one of the most fatal mistakes that might be the end of the Rats here, if we can see a repeat performance compared to last game, is Burger and Fries on the Sandra. The fact that was left up as opposed to the Cassiopeia and the Scion and the Aatrox that they prioritized the ban instead, I think that's it's very dangerous to have done that. But otherwise, we're going to see Lucian taken off the board with the Rats have yet to show their AD carry pick, so we may see another a Kai'Sa ban to see if they can take away Kai'Sa Lulu. We're seeing Staker we're seeing Xerath. Oh my goodness, if I can even get my words right, we're seeing Staker on Xerath mid, so we got the backline DPS mage. We got Gilanterra on Ornn in the top lane. So, we got the tanky front line on each side for the most part. We've got DPS backlines. We'll see. We actually see the Varus Lulu actually coming out as one of my favorite lanes as well. So it's nice to see Varus falling out of the meta a little bit, but I still think is perfectly fine. I still think he can perfectly be a relevant pick, especially with something like the Lulu giving him the movement speed, the attack speed, and the shields, and all the different peel that can help a immobile AD carry such as Varus to actually provide the utility that it can provide. Having the engage ultimate is going to be very powerful. Having a lot of the percentage health shred damage. There's just so many things that it's very nice having a Varus picked up for your team, and I think Varus Lulu is one of the safer bot lanes that can go along with it. But otherwise, we got the Trundle to take away from the resistances of the Ornn, and we'll see what the last pick that Recon 5 decides to opt for is.
Well, interested to see if they go with the Kha'Zix again. I wouldn't expect them to, but it looks like it's going to be a Trundle jungle then.
Yeah, we'll see. Gnar is definitely another champion that we haven't seen too much of. I think he got the baseball bat of Riot Games straight to his kneecaps one too many times to stay relevant compared to some of the other heavy conquer or excuse me, damage focused top laners that we've seen a lot of in the past few patches. So I think it'll be interesting to see if Doldley can actually make it a valuable pick. And actually, they're going to juke us out from what we thought might have been the GLM Terror Ornn is actually going to be the Renekton up in the top lane, and Hazy not Hazy, goodness gracious, KU Chan, who is quite infamous for his Ornn in the top lane, is actually going to be taking that to the jungle. So Trundle's actually going to be facing off against an Ornn. A little bit of a weird matchup, but otherwise everything else looking pretty normal across the board. Gnar for the range versus melee matchup in the top lane might be pretty nice. Otherwise, Vayne Alistar, like I said, they may have to play a little bit more conservatively. I think Varus Lulu, especially Lulu with Ignite, if Rat's bot lane does decide to play a little bit more aggressive, I think they can punish the Vayne a little bit harder, so they might have to, opting for something like the Doran Shield and staying back, just farming up a little bit more, while perhaps the Lissandra Trundle Gnar get the game going for them.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if they do something similar, or Recon 5 does something similar with bot lane, with going down bot, burning flash on the Lulu, for instance, because once you get that down, Trundle can always revisit, and then once you drop Pillar plus an Alistar afterwards, it's going to be really hard to get out of that.
Yep, this is definitely a lot more of it. The fact that we can see the Ornn pickup for Rats as well as the Varus, it's going to be the fact they'll just have a very easy go button. It doesn't matter if it's the Ornn or the Varus starting the game, starting the fight off. If one of the other two can land their abilities, it's almost a guaranteed for the other one. And it'll be nice to have this Lulu, see if they can actually get some protection and disengage from the Lissandra, who had proven that she was not afraid at all to be able to flash in, get the W roots to get off the entire team, to ult herself. Zonia is, killing so much time, being right in the middle of several people, having the aftershock resistances and just constantly dealing damage with their abilities, coming off cooldown and being able to buffer, ultimate, the Zonias, and all that good stuff. So Burgers and Fries, Tooler, which I'd much rather prefer to call him by, is pretty well versed on this Lissandra, which is nice to see. We'll see if the Staker is actually able to dish out the appropriate amount of DPS that he needs, if he's able to land a lot of these backline skill shots, especially if it lands onto the Vayne. It's going to be, if they're able to just simply pick off the Vayne from nothing more than a Varus Q and a Xerath Q, that might be enough for them to win a team fight.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a lot of hope for Rats with this team comp, because I did like the Varus pick into what I was seeing bot lane, because assuming that things don't get out of hand, I think Varus does match up very well into the Vayne, and then I do always like to see something like a Xerath here and there, because if executed really well, it's going to be very difficult for anyone to get on him. Pretty much the only, assuming he's staying far enough away from everyone, it's really going to have to be like a Lissandra E and maybe Flash on top of that to get anywhere near him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with mages right now, just with their overall strength in this current meta, just the fact that the Ludens, the Morellonomicon, having so much health, and the Grievous Wounds, the magic penetration, I believe, 40 or 45% increased ability power on Rabadons. I think there's so many mage items that benefit them so much just at every stage of the game. I think they're just it's by far the strongest class that currently exists right now. So I think if he is actually able to get ahead, and even if he doesn't get ahead, even if he does fall a bit behind, he's still going to be useful as long as he can hit these abilities. You're always going to have that the projectile stun if it lands on people. You're going to always have the ultimate ability that can, with originally being 3 shots, 4 shots, 5 shots, you can be so very far away and dish out so much damage if you are allowed to get away with it. So hopefully, the positioning.
And playing into those mid laners, I think, as a Vayne is almost one of the most frustrating things, because when you're playing a Vayne, it's very easy for you to be like, all right, well, let's play front to back. But when you have these long range mages that can, hit you with a spell multiple times as you're trying to get to the back, killing their front line, it gets really difficult when you have like a Xerath there, or the Vel'Koz, or maybe even a Lux, because you can just get poked down, off of just getting hit once or twice, and it makes it very difficult for you to keep pushing forward.
Absolutely, and just looking at the keystones here, we're seeing just about everything is pretty common. We're actually seeing the Predator Orange Jungle is actually probably one of the more interesting picks. I can't imagine it's probably one of the better options to go. I can't imagine too many other keystones being too beneficial for an Orange Jungle. But getting into this game here, we'll see an interesting game 3. I think both team compositions, have a great chance of. Going in either team's favor. I think I'm excited to see the Varus Lulu just because it's a little bit more of a traditional peel bot lane with an Enchanter support. It's a little bit more of my personal play style, so I like to just watch it be played, especially in team fights if they can run or work from front to back and actually kite out the Lysandra, kite out the Vayne, kite out the Trundle and Gnar that are looking to run this team over. And we'll see what this Orange Jungle can do. We'll see the type of pressure that he can apply with this Predator. We can see how the Trundle is going to respond to it, and it'll just overall be an interesting game to see.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed here from Ratso being a little lazy with their level 1. Could have very well, had Recon 5 invade their top side without them getting any knowledge of that. It's just very, very lazy kind of just play level 1 there.
Yeah, I think both teams it would benefit them to working as one unit. You can establish some of that deep vision. You can maybe be able to track the enemy jungler a little bit if you are able to establish vision in the right places. I think with Crab being such a high priority, it's nice to see Tooler there who's dropping that ward down at around 130 to make sure that topside river is actually warded, so Titan can find his way to that Crab rather safely. He doesn't have to walk too much in the dark to find it. So I think it's very important for, as a jungler, it's very much benefits you to have a team that is willing to help you and give you the vision that you need, and especially if there is a skirmish or two that does happen over Crab, it helps to collapse very quickly. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying you can see that the Recon 5 ended up putting a ward in both pixel brushes while Rats didn't put a single one, so definitely that vision and the advantage of Recon 5 for Titan.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very important difference to see. And we're seeing Old Man Hazy's actually going to go very aggressive on this Lulu, walking all the way in front of the minions and getting what damage he can off on this Vayne and applying some good early game pressure with this Varus Lulu. And Renekton and Gnar actually going back and forth while being even in CS. You can see Terry getting very aggressive on this Renekton as well, getting in Dolly's face a little bit, getting the Q damage off while he can. Seeing him stunned up by this Mega Gnar a little bit. And Sandra's actually going to go in on Kang Yu-Chan here on this Ornn. Aftershock's going to pop and a lot of damage coming out from Staker already. If WQ is going to land and sending Tooler very, very low. Titan's going to try to get this damage off, but him being very low himself is going to be a very close 2v2, but First Blood is actually going to go over to Kang Yu-Chan on this Ornn. The barrier is going to be just enough to keep Staker alive, and Tooler's going to have to flash away. He's going to be able to stay alive, but that is going to be First Blood over to the side of Rats.
Yeah, I thought maybe that would be a good counter game from Titan, considering, I thought he was jungling pretty well, but you have to roam up from bot lane very early, just getting a cheeky kill onto Tooler there. Yeah,
the level 3 Varus Lulu gank is probably not what I expect as a mid laner. I can't imagine finding an empowered Q smacking me in the face and then a flash forward to just get one last auto on me might send me for a little bit of a tilter there. I'm not sure how much of a mental fortitude Tooler has without setting me for a loop, but otherwise it's just going to be just 2 early kills over to the Rats. It's a good start for them. It's going to be a good little advantage they can start off with, and with GLM Terror being on a very comfortable matchup himself, being very experienced on this Renekton pick, a personal favorite of his throughout the years. He's able to almost push Dodally out of this lane. He's being very low on this grass. Gnar, he's down a potion, with Renekton still having a potion Doran shield of his own.
We're revisiting mid.
Revisiting mid, Tooler looking to see if he can get a kill off of Staker. It's going to be a good flash to burn off from him, so that's it's a victory over for the side of Recon. Just for the time being, having an important cooldown like that is going to be beneficial for them in the long run if they can capitalize on it. Otherwise, a nice slow game. I think it's interesting to see. I can't see the secondary runes of the champions. I know the the Gnar has primary resolve with the grass, but I think he had Scorch there, or excuse me, sorcery secondary, because I saw Scorch, which I'm not sure how useful that would be on a top laner like Gnar, as opposed to something like the precision tree, maybe getting the triumph or the assist or health on assist, or on you know, getting some extra attack speed or tenacity in that second line of the tree. But you know, I guess there are different reasons for going sorcery sec, you know, different benefits and whatnot. But otherwise, we're still going to see Hazy being very aggressive on this Lulu. I think it's a little bit of a safer pick compared to the Lux that was pretty easily punished by Recon. But we're actually going to see Kang Yu-Chan predatoring up top lane, but a lot of damage is going to come out from that tower. Dolly's going to pick up a kill on Kang Yu-Chan despite falling, and Renekton is going to get a kill of his own.
And to answer your question, the Gnar did actually go Scorch. He actually went Celerity and Scorch, in case you're curious there.
I guess I can understand the Celerity. Obviously, every little percentage helps when it comes to a range kiting champion such as Gnar, but I'm not sure about Scorch. I'm not sure the math behind that and how efficient that is, but that might just be you know, personal preference. I think maybe something along the lines of maybe Gathering Storm, or even something like Nullifying Orb might have been the more beneficial choice. But to each their own. I'm not the one playing. I'm only on the sidelines here from the peanut gallery. So. Otherwise, a little bit of a slower game. We've seen the past 2 games being a little bit of a clown fiesta, but I think both teams are maybe sweating a little bit more now. Maybe the pressure of this game 3, knowing that it can go either or in the favor of either team. You know, maybe they're wanting to be a little more careful and maybe wanting to solidify their win rather than go for the crazy stuff we were seeing before.
Yeah, I mean, now that you've got history going on, you understand a little bit more of, you know, it's like, oh, maybe we can lose this, and now that it's, you know, it's game 3, it's essentially a best of 1 now, so, I mean, game 1 and 2 doesn't matter anymore. This is all that everyone's going to remember.
Exactly. You know, it doesn't matter how you start the race, it's how you finish. You know, the first 2 games you could play like an absolute god, but no one's, you know, people aren't going to remember that if you shit the bed for game 3, you know?
Absolutely. But I do like the that at least for this game, Rast is having a stronger early game, which we didn't see previously. So I'm just kind of curious how that, you know, will impact Recon 5 if they don't have these gold advantages out of lane phase.
Yeah, I think a lack of jungle presence in the bot lane is allowing IB Lurking and Old Man Hazy to actually get away with the aggression that they're a lot more comfortable with. I think ever since level 1, we've seen this Lulu just been walking up, auto-attacking and Eing whoever he can actually get in range to do so. And we did see when he was on Lux, he was just getting looped by the jungler, and I think it was that was one of the main factors that led to the Rats losing control of that game, was the high amount of death spot lane. But I think they decided, you know, we need to play something a little bit safer in terms of picks, we need to play a little bit more conservatively. As long as we know where the enemy jungler is, we can go for more aggressive posturing, but otherwise we need to be careful. We can't be dying 10 times in 10 minutes, you know?
Absolutely. So, I mean, even still, you know, they're up 2 kills, but the gold lead is only about 300-400. It looks like it just swapped up to 400 there. So, you know, still keeping up pretty well. Got small leads, building up. Jungle in particular is actually got a decent lead for Recon 5.
Actually, we're seeing Dolly with the sustain that he's able to get from grasp. He's actually getting quite a bit of a damage advantage here on in the top lane, but Gillon Terra might be able to turn it. A beautiful Mega Gnar is actually going to come out right perfectly timed. It's not going to be enough. Kang Yu-Chan from the Ornalt from downtown is just going to be just enough to take down Dolly on this Gnar, and Titan's going to see if he can pick up a kill of his own. That ultimate is going to take out a huge amount of resistance out for Kang Yu-Chan, so he's going to be able to fall to Titan on this Trundle. It's going to be it's a good 1-for-1, a little bit of an even trade.
Next splash coming out, but it looks like, oh, Lissandra's there to engage on Lulu.
Yeah, Lissandra on the side is actually going to be able enough to give Glory just the amount of damage to take out Lulu, so that's going to be a good first kill on him. Berserker Greaves already picked up, is going to, you know, be nice, allow him to pick up that sustain on back. Hopefully he's able to afford that Vampiric Scepter. Both AD carries are about even in farm. Steve the Crusader doing a good job to push out that lane, make sure it crashes under their tower. There's actually a pink ward in that bush they're not quite going to notice, and Staker looking to pick up a solo kill on the burgers and fries. It's not going to be enough damage, but doing a good job to hit his skills and push his opposing laner out of the lane. See if he has to go back. Lysandra does have teleport available though. We'll see if he opts to use it mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little unfortunate top side with Dodolyi. Little unlucky. I think he had that if the Ornn ult didn't clip him at the end.
Yeah, no, I think it was just about like the very tip of it too was actually it went just far enough to get him. It may have ended up being a kill for it may have been a kill for Nari, just barely by the skin of his teeth. It was very interesting to see, a large Gator ulting and a large Gnar popping up at the same time. So it was pretty interesting to see there. We're seeing Predator King Yu-Chan looking to see if he can make a play happen down bot lane, but no Chains of Corruption is going to make that a little bit hard. Lysandra coming down as well, and Steve the Crusader doing a good job headbutting people back into his team as he showed last game, and Titan showing some pressure up in the bot lane. Not going to be enough to kill Vernekton. That's having ult already up again is going to be able to stay alive. So almost making 2 plays simultaneously on both sides of the map is pretty impressive, but wasn't able to pull off the one on the top time. But they're going to get Rift Herald for it, so they got a little bit of a, I'd say more of a positive advantage from that in the end. Varus actually, Chain of Corruption going down on Vayne is actually going to deal a lot of damage. The Xerath Q is just going to go a little wide. W's not going to be able to land either, but the Ignite's still ticking down on him. Steve the Crusader going to have to pop it ult. So is Lulu keeping that Varus alive. Lysandra's here for good measure. Getting stunned up by the Xerath is going to be able to just walk through his team. He's not going to do anything crazy. Not looking to engage, just looking to be here. Just looking to make his presence. Doesn't want anything too crazy happening down here in the bot lane. Zerabolt's going to come out, and Alistar going to be able to cheekily walk around, and Vayne is going to be able to avoid it herself. And the Rats are looking for some opportunities, but just aren't quite able to get them.
Yeah, Ornn coming though.
Here it comes, and
that's just solo him out.
That's all Vayne needs to die, is just a ram running down from the heavens. So we see the lethal tempo being procced on the Varus. They're going to get additional turret platings. They might even get this first tower, depending how crazy Lysandra goes. Hoping to see if she would connect that E and maybe ult herself, but not quite. Titan's going to show presence on the top side instead. GLM not having the ult to get the additional help that he might need to survive. So very low. Titan's going a little bit further, see if he can get the slow off. He needs maybe one more auto to press the attack and his ultimate for good measure. We're going to see if it's a rush to get this first tower, and Rats are going to be able to respond to the Dragon instead, but I think it's going to be a first tower over to Recon 5.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice Herald drop and getting the kill. Good react from the bot lane play, trading something over, but Rats, I believe, did just pick up the Drake. Yep.
Yep, so
it's a cloud in comparison, not necessarily considered one of the top tier Drakes.
Yeah, I think it might actually be a little bit more beneficial considering you've got 2 immobile carries, that being the Xerath and the Varus. I think every little bit of movement speed counts, especially when having to kite back the various champions of Recon 5 that are meant to pretty much slowly walk you, while Rats, I think, are meant to kite back a little more. I think front to back is probably going to be a bit more of their play style this game, but Ornn has definitely shown his usefulness of his ult. He's hardly having even gank in these lanes by physically being there. He's just throwing the ult from downtown, and that's really all they need to make plays happen.
Absolutely. Stun does come out onto Lysandra, though. That's just the EUA.
Otherwise, builds across the board are looking fairly standard. We see Varus able to finish that Blade of the Ruin King. We'll see if he's going to opt for that Guinsoo's next, or what route he's actually going to be able to take there. Vayne is getting close to finishing her own Blade of the Ruin King, but having Greaves over the Varus, so each of them have their different strengths and power spikes right now. Old Man Hazy's still looking to go so very aggressive, constantly eating that Vayne off cooldown as he can, but Steve the Crusader is looking to flex his muscles a little bit with Titan. And Lysandra down there for hovering just in case.
Looks like now that they have that top turret that Trundle is going to be putting his focus on bot side, which absolutely makes sense. But
Yeah, we see
getting poked out by Zareth.
Ooh, a very good pillar, and actually the additional ult is going to force Staker to flash away. That's going to be a valuable cooldown for Recon 5 to actually keep in mind with that immobile mage not having that escape. So I
did also burn that Gnar TP though on that play. Now that you can't cancel it, fortunately no reduced cooldown, and gotta wait. What now? Six minutes again.
Yeah, no, it's just it does make it so you have to really think if you want to pull that trigger on the teleport. You can't just use it to flex your muscles and say like, hey, I'm gonna teleport, and knowing that maybe you had no intentions of even finishing in the first place. Just knowing that you could essentially teleport in was enough for people to back off in the past. But now that people know for a fact that there's no turning back on that teleport, you could even maybe posture around that teleport that's coming in, maybe turn on the person teleporting, knowing that they have no chance otherwise. But we're gonna see Ornn coming down in the bot lane with Titan, maybe getting a little bit of a 3v3, if not a 4v3. If Zareth manages to come down before the Lasandra, you might see something happen. Chain of Corruption, and goodness gracious, would you happen to know what Ornn's ult name is off the top of your head?
Something Horn, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but I wasn't confident enough to guess. But otherwise, we might see it. But Steve the Crusader is going to be able to land a two-man knockup while Glory gets rooted up by the Chain of Corruption. He's going to be able to flash out of the way. Kangy being full health and a lot of damage coming out from this Varus. Ivy Lurking walking forward and finishing off the kill on Steve the Crusader. A double kill coming out for Ivy Lurking, finishing off that Vayne as well. And Titan's going to have to flash away. Being so very strong, 3-0 on this Varus. The Sandra's going to come in as well and rooting up Kangy Chan. It's going to be a kill for Doldily over on the Gnar. Looking to see if they can find more on the Varus, and Hazy's actually trying to peel for what he can, but the pillar is going to be able to slow him down, and that's going to be a shutdown. 500 gold over to the Trundle. Hazy is going to be able to get it, or excuse me, try his best to get away, but a lot of slows coming out from the Lysandra, coming out from the Trundle. That's going to be another kill over to Tooler, 313. Almost Lysandra mid lane, while GL Terror picks up this outer turret top lane, while Recon gets the outer turret bot lane.
Yeah, another scenario we saw of Rats winning a skirmishy team fight and chasing in too far and just suiciding straight into it because they had the fewer people on that side of the map. Gnar just walked down, and since neither top laner had TP, just easy cleanup.
We're seeing the, before even the jungle items finish, we see Trundle instantly getting the Zeke's Convergence. I think that's the fact that he's actually opting to finish that very early, I think it shows that he's looking to trust the team that he can provide the utility to, as opposed to going for his own damage, knowing that he is more there for the team than you know, him being his own type of carry. We got Ornn also finishing his own Zeke's Convergence, so we've got both of the junglers picking the more tank supportive role, which I think is pretty interesting.
Second Cloud Drake up here, though. All 5 members hovering bot side of the map. Rats do have the priority so far, but Trundle's back in base.
I think this is going to be a free Dragon Lord, and Narku looking a little close. I thought that might be snipped away by Recon 5, but not quite. We're seeing the Ornn coming out again, and Tooler is not quite going to be able to get out with the Z. That the Ornn is going to be just enough. Steve the Crusader landing another 3-man knockout. Kangy Jin's going to do some knocking up with his own GLM Terror, applying a lot of damage on the Lysandra, but the Zonius is going to be just enough to save some time. Steve the Crusader is managing to live. A beautiful Gnarl is coming out, another flash W from Lysandra. Burgers and Fries, another great double kill, but tanking one last turret shot with the Varasu is going to be just enough for him to go down. That is but a great play for Recon 5 overall. 4 of their members still alive, with one having to fall for that play. 2 towers are potentially going to go down despite the second dragon going over to the Rat, so another beautiful play. Just from what we saw, even though GLM Terror was able to stud up the Lysandra after the Ornn was landed on her, didn't allow her to connect her E, we saw a great 3-man knockup by Steve the Crusader. We saw a beautiful Mega Gnar flying into, even though he was under tower, he tanked up the tower, managed to slam 3 members of Rats against the wall, and then another follow-up by a beautiful flash Lysandra W that Tooler just shows that he loves to do off cooldown. You know, it's all these things coming together, and it's showing this the great communication and synergy that Recon 5 has.
Yeah, it was a beautiful team fight from them. I was looking at it, and it was It's like, all right, here's a team fight. Is this another instance of where Rats is just going to be able to get some gold back? But I mean, great on Recon 5 to finally win their team fight and the most important game.
Absolutely, and we see they've got about a 4K gold lead right now, as well as 3 towers, despite they're technically down 1 dragon, but they've got an Infernal as opposed to the 2 clouds, so I'd definitely take that trade any day. I'd think 1 for 2 in terms of having the better element. It's still going to be better. But Rats maybe look to get this mid lane turret. Cooler's going to be able to fly into this Lissandra, so be able to take out the minions and delay what she can, so maybe Rats aren't going to be able to take this tower after all. Xerath is landing his abilities, but not doing that much damage. Only having the Ludens and Sword Shoes finish is going to need a little bit more magic penetration to deal the damage he needs. Early magic resist with the Mercury Treads on the Lissandra is actually making quite a bit of a difference to help the survivability of Tooler. Pillar's going to try to block Staker out, but he's going to be able to walk away patiently. We got Chain of Corruptions up on the Varus. We got Lulu ult up. We got just about every cooldown that we need to start a fight. So could see something happening. We could actually see Recon 5 with knowing that the Rats don't have any vision of Baron. We got Xerath suspecting that they are indeed on it, so they may have to back off. It was almost a little bit of a cheeky steal. Had they had an Earth Dragon, they probably could have taken that a lot faster, as well as having that Vayne that has that Blade of the Ruin King and almost the Guinsoo's finish.
Absolutely. I mean, probably just trying to burn maybe the Renekton teleport. Unfortunately, wasn't able to get it, but does get the Xerath ult out and just resets, go back.
Yeah, I think both teams are just going to reset here. We got Varus finishing his Guinsoos, so we got both hyper carries are looking to have that same build of the Bork for the percentage health shred, the sustain, and then we got the on-hit effects of the Guinsoos. I think it's probably going to be a little bit more of a power spike to Vayne, since she's got the true damage burst that's going to come out from that Guinsoos. Varus it's still very beneficial on, but it doesn't pack as much of a punch as the Vayne will. We've got Deadman's Plate being finished on the Gnar, so we'll see if this next item he's actually going to manage to fit in a Frozen Mallet into that build or not. But Recon 5, while Gnar's bot lane, is going to try to look for this Baron yet again.
And they are starting it back up, but one of the biggest things that I was seeing here is, I mean, before Rats pushed in behind the red buff, Recon 5 had 5 pink wards, 3 down the river, but Call of Fortune got coming out.
Yeah, starting the fight with the Great Lissandra ult after the Proto Belt is going to get him the Varus, but it's just not going to be enough to kill him. A shutdown is actually going to go over to Ivy lurking on this Varus. Lulu is going to be able to keep him alive with this ultimate. Dolby and GLM Terror going into their own fight in the bot lane as well. That's going to be him being able to get away, his arm being shredded by that Black Cleaver, or both of them I should say, while the rest of Rats are charging down this mid lane, getting that outer, and maybe looking to the inner, while iGlory is too low to do anything about it. IB Lurking is just about full health and has so much attack speed and so much peel available from both the Ornn and the Lulu. The Staker is able to deal a good amount of damage of his own. And they may be looking to get this third Cloud Dragon. While a lot of people do down-talk Cloud Dragon, I think maybe having one isn't that beneficial, but having a triple Cloud Dragon, I think you're definitely going to notice it, as well as having the Predator Ornn. You're having the Lulu Whimsy that's going to be speeding up this Varus. I think it's going to be, as a lot of these champions from Recon 5, you're going to notice the difference that this movement speed that Rats has is going to make.
Absolutely. Cloud is one of, it might have been the most underrated Drake. It's been one of my favorites because, if you can pick up multiple of those, I mean, sure, Infernal is great, but, I mean, if you're able to just, play the map better, maybe those Infernals don't matter. The Cloud's just much more impactful.
Yeah, since it's not just out of movement speed or out of combat movement speed anymore, since it's just all base movement speed, the fact that your melees can stick to their opponents a bit easier, so you got the Renekton that's able to constantly kite forward with his auto attacks, and if he's able to get more stuns off and whatnot, he's able to move forward. And you're also going to notice it from the range champions that are able to kite you a bit easier, just because they have just that much more movement speed than you. So if you are the melee champion, kind of like this Trundle, kind of like the Alistar, that are needing to get in range to use your abilities, you know, unless you have something like this Hex Flash that Steve is using. You know, he's being able to break that chain of corruption, and Tooler's going to come in with the Protobelt. And another Flash W, great play. Stuff as Varus. Varus is going to still take out a lot of damage. He's still not going to be able to have enough glory tumbling forward and being able to pick another kill. And the Old Man Hazy Goldie going very far forward in their game. We're going to say we're going to take those 3 kills for us. That is a fantastic lead to take. And we're going to maybe look to Baron and see if we can take a little bit of a safer play. A fantastic pick by the side of Recon 5.
Yeah, Varus had no flash. We're able to get a pick on him. He was the most fed member. He's biggest DPS by the looks of things, and you know, being able to lock him down so he can't kite, just probably gonna win you the fight.
Yeah, you saw him actually, Lysandra's gonna find the Xerath that's standing still ulting while he's looking for the Baron. You know, being stunned up by Steve, and Tooler's gonna field auto him one more time in the Protobelt just for good measure. I think. That's not the position you want to be in, especially once they have vision on you. And I really do think that Recon 5's vision, as opposed to the Rats, they've shown even from very early on in the game, as you said, with the very early wards down in the river for the jungler and Skullcraft from both the laners. I think that alone is showing the difference in team coordination and preparation. So we're seeing a pretty good game again from both teams still. While the Rats are behind, they are making good individual plays of their own. Maybe not every play working out for them as they'd like, but Varus is still very strong. We saw even in that last fight, despite getting Lysandra ulted and so much of the damage being followed out from it, the Lulu ult and the other abilities that are used to try to peel and keep him alive. If he was able to, you know, ever so slightly just have a few more resistances, now that he has the QSS, hopefully he's not able to have that exact thing happen again, so that might be the amount of resistance and you know, the escape he needs. But he, with having the Lulu E on him and the W's, you know, so much attack speed with the Bork and the Gween so I think if he's able to stay alive and able to survive that initial burst of this Lysandra and whatever else dives onto him, I think Ivy Lurking alone could take over this game with every team fight, as long as the Lulu stays alive and he positions correctly.
Yeah, IB Lurkin has been positioning, I think, fairly well for at least this game. Can't really recall off of previous ones at the moment, but like that fight mid where everyone died except him, he was positioning fairly well from the rest of his team, so he didn't get caught in that gnarl.
Yeah, I think IB Lurking is a player that is very conscientious of, you know, where he is in the game, you know, what's going on, you know, what threats he actually has to deal with. I think he does have a lot of that going on in his head at all times. I think he is one of those players that is a bit more conscious of his play, but despite that, he still is a very aggressive player, still goes for those greedy plays that, you know, a lot less greedy of plays, a lot more conservative this game, that we have seen with a lot lower of the death count. You know, we've seen that in play, and we see Goldily trying to finish off this bot lane inhib with GLM Terra and the Staker defending what they can, but the rest of the Recon 5 members are getting the top tower of their own. And Tooler's going to try to get a good engage off of this Lysandra, but ulting himself, and iGlory is actually going to flash onto GLM Terra, and, you know, having this short tumble cooldown is going to allow him to, you know, tumble through this fight, but so much damage coming out from the mages is actually going to take him down. Lysandra coming in to deal what damage he can, and even though Hazy was able to take down I think I mixed up my champions there, and I'm already getting confused, but Steve's already back in the fight. GLM Terra and Hazy are actually just going to take him out. The rest of Recon 5 is nowhere to be seen because they're taking out all 3 inhibs to solidify this win. Not only do they have the 7k gold lead, but they say, we're going to take this double inhib. We got Dragon coming up. We're going to suffocate this game out of you. We want to make sure you have no way of getting back in this game. So for the most part, this is looking like a Recon 5 victory.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Rats were able to pick up 3 kills, but while that's all going on, the Trundle and Gnar are just picking up those inhibs, and you know, the amount of pressure that those are going to generate is a lot more valuable than the little bit of gold that they really were picking up.
Yeah, you know, you still can't say nay, especially with us, or actually a teleport's coming in from Gnar. I think that might be the type of throw that could get Rats back into this game. He's going to go down. 700 gold shutdown is going to go over to Kangyu Chan. Predator's going to be popped and see if they can pick off Titan and then an Infernal Dragon as well. Maybe not needing the kills, but just defending the minions in the base while picking up this Dragon. Lysandra on the side is looking to flex the Nitro Ult's going to be popped on this Renekton as well as the Renekton ult. A good Lissandra self-cast.
Vange is doing whatever she wants in this fight.
No one is touching the Vayne. Lissandra is able to sit right in the middle of him while she was self-casting the ult. That's going to be a triple kill, possibly even a triple kill if she's able to catch up this, or excuse me, the Lulu. A nice auto, but it's just not going to quite be enough. Hazy's going to be able to flash right into his base to meet the many super minions that are there to await him. And Recon 5 walking the minions to their base. This looks like a victory for them, a well-fought and well-deserved best-of-3 series victory for the side of Recon 5. The Staker overextending one last time, and that's just not going to be enough. Super minions pouring into the base no matter what they do. And that's, it's a slow, it's a miserable defeat for the Rats, but a well-deserved victory for Recon 5. GG's all around.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that's actually the way that ended, because I felt it was often very different from the way the first two games showed, with Recon 5 getting early advantages while they were down in this one and had to work their way back after an early deficit and really prove that they could also team fight and not win off of only winning the early game.
Yeah, I really do think that not banning Lissandra was probably the fatal flaw of the Rats. I saw as soon as Tuller got to Lissandra again, the guy not only is dealing so much damage on it, but it's not just the damage that you can do with these carries that are popular, especially like the Galio and the Lissandras, the plays they can set up, and God bless that man, he's able to set up some fantastic plays. Steve the Crusader and Alistar as well. These guys that are able to get in there and on these very frontline tanky champions to set up these fantastic plays. It was a very, it was set up for IB lurking, despite he was able to pick up that lead, and he was looking very strong in that Varus, and especially having that Lulu to potentially peel him with the Ornn and Renekton front line, and Xerath that was accompanying him on the DPS side of things. It just wasn't enough. I think I think the Gnar top lane actually did pretty well for it being a Gnar top lane, not being seen often in this meta. I think he played pretty damn well. I think having 2 Vayne games in a row on Recon 5's AD carry, I think that's another pick that just shouldn't really be let through. It just showed how very strong it was, especially hitting that 2-item point and even having that Zeal item for that third attack speed item for good measure. Just so very powerful, so very strong in this current meta. But overall, every individual player in this game, each had their strengths and weaknesses of the game, each had their highlights and good and bad plays. But overall, Recon 5 ended up being the better, well-oiled unit. You could tell their team synergy. You can tell just from the way they played and communicated that they have a good amount of practice together. You can tell that they just are on the same page typically. There's a few times where there's a little bit of a hiccup and a little bit of miscommunication, but overall they seem to be a very solid team.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm like to see what these teams end up doing for next week. See if the Rats can, because I think the Rats win 1-1 this week, and I'm not sure about Recon 5, but interested to see how they change things up for future weeks and see what weaknesses get shored up.
Yep, absolutely. So that's pretty much all I have, unless you have any other finishing words or concerns. That's
no, I have nothing more.
All right, well, I'm glad I had the opportunity to cast with you, and as always, if you are still sticking around in the stream, this long around, 17 cents a day for a Twitch Prime membership is probably one of the most affordable things you're going to find in 2019 in today's world and economy and society. So if you want to show your support for the Sugar Free League, then you can do so at the top. Subscribing to us shows that you are a loyal follower, that you do show that you are interested in the games that we broadcast and the competition we put on. So we very much appreciate that if you already are a subscriber and you are continuing to support us. And if you are a player or just a spectator, we're glad that you tuned in tonight. We hope that you have a fantastic rest of your night, and we hope to see you in future games. Have a good